$1,000 a week for life?
It was one of the, there were like 3 or 4 big ones like this, and the last one,
Got you
one of those
really
really large
best
ones was an
friend.
84-year-old woman.
I was gonna give mine to the political candidates.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
Or that one year I was gonna give it
Call
all
the
to
meeting to
Minnesota.
order.
Okay.
You can give it to John Edwards.
I was gonna give it to, well,
Enough about lotteries that we're probably not gonna win.
I know.
So call meeting order. First up is the agenda. Any
I
change to the
didn't print a
agenda?
copy of it, do we have
I
any?
have something to add.
Share mine. What was that?
Oh, that's okay,
I
that's
wanna
okay.
ask about, Eagle Scout projects.
New business?
I don't know, that's the question.
New business type thing? You
Yeah.
asked about.
Yeah, it's just a, it'll be a 4-minute conversation if that.
Eagles go.
Okay, is that it?
So it's gonna be 9:04 we're done.
We have to schedule a 6-month review of Nate, and,
Wow, that was fast.
Unfinished.
okay, that's all.
Okay. Okay, so that.
So,
agenda is.
and then, now there was some things we were gonna be getting yesterday, and then we didn't get them, should we take them off the agenda?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Which one?
What things were we
When
gonna be getting?
again? It was the
plan of work, I think is,
2015 work, plan of work, when we went down to future business. or
Who's
not,
that gonna come
not for
from?
discussion.
that was from me,
I thought we did it. I mean, I thought I sent mine in.
We had a draft one, and Nate was gonna take all the discussion and turn it into a revised one.
Oh, okay. I just was saying, because I sent something in. Okay. Oh, I know.
Just need to see it back. What else, is there something else,
Yeah.
Nate, that we need to take off?
What about the solar issue, we're gonna hold off on that?
We have a solar visitor.
We have, this is, I was going to, well, I guess Nate had sent around an email, did everybody see that? That I was thinking it's pretty last minute to final approval, but there is a lottery system that we have to get our name into.
Oh,
So we could, if
Yeah.
we're comfortable, we could, go ahead with the lottery.
sure.
It's easier
Non-binding,
to get all at once.
allow ourselves to get to the lottery so that cost show. So I guess I just don't leave it on, we can talk about it and decide what we're gonna do.
Oh, you didn't get me.
That's it.
I move approval of the agenda
Oh, wait,
as, oh no, I tried, almost did.
Almost did. Yes.
The minutes from the January 28th meeting.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's.
Can we put that on new business or
I don't know.
They're
future business?
Future business,
Okay,
yeah.
but we have to have that down, okay?
Okay.
January.
Is it the 28th or the 29th?
No, I had the January 28th.
Okay.
End of January.
But Jane, late
It was a
January.
special,
Yeah, I
it was
got it
a
on this
special
too.
meeting, it wasn't a regular meeting, okay?
Yes, thanks, I had to move that too.
Okay, so Steve.
I move
has-
approval of the agenda as,
Second.
modified.
Copious notes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining, very good.
Oh,
Do we have any minutes to approve? The regular meeting? Okay.
Oh,
We have last time's regular.
Judy's not here today,
Correct.
we dealing with that?
There,
Well, she sent them to us.
we do have minutes in the packet from the.
Are we gonna have any
January
next time?
14th.
Oh.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
Who wants to be, so maybe a note taker for this?
Do you have a tape recorder?
I think I do. Well, we also have a,
We have this, but you can't trust
Okay.
this
okay, I will,
because the regular videographer had a death in the family.
Oh dear.
So,
I'll dig around, I think I have.
Thank you.
Are we paying for this? I mean, what's the, I wanna know about the money for this sucker. What's the money? So she's not here, we don't have to pay for this, or
Correct.
we do pay for it, or what's?
We
the
do
deal?
not pay if she's not here.
How much are we paying her each
If you want
time?
to, you could put a piece of paper in there and make
I
that
think we're
type
gonna,
for
we're
yourself.
gonna try it a couple times, see how we like to bring it back to the board.
As long as we're gonna be-
Continue
So
or
are
not,
we,
sure, but at that point,
are we
we'll-
in that point, or where are we?
Next meeting, next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Right, do that.
Thank you, that was nice, good.
What's it say? Oh, Ann's here. Maybe we'll let Ann be now. It could be Jolene. And I'll
And
take-
while we're
I'll
waiting
take Ann. Actually, Ann's
for
here,
Nate,
so let's-
we'll introduce Nick Nelson from All Energy Solar, who is going to tell us about the solar plan that if we're going to take part in it, we need to have an application into the state by the end of February. And he can give you the details on what's needed, when and where.
And
Come to that one pretty soon. Actually, should have asked, we could move that up on the agenda. That would-
Whatever
can we
works
do
for you
that?
guys.
No, you be first.
Let's move the.
Man, you get your name
solar-
on like every little piece here.
Do I
You
really?
don't get a lot of meetings. Brett, you don't get anything, sorry.
This is missing,
Judy?
just Judy.
Judy and Joe,
Oh, it's,
Oh, that's
Judy.
right, I knew some of those was missing.
I think you always have a little
There
scratch on
wasn't
the head
a
too.
person that I pictured that wasn't here.
February
Okay.
11th.
newish stuff. So we'll do, after we get approval of vouchers, we'll do the solar panels. We caught that before.
We don't have a voucher statement.
Yeah, I don't think we have vouchers.
Well, after that,
There's always
I
vouchers.
scratch that.
No, there's always vouchers. There's gotta be vouchers.
So do we have vouchers?
What do you
I
have?
saw some in there, but I don't.
Some for everyone.
No, the vouchers that were.
You know how it goes?
last.
Looks correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Brad. Or was that Steve's fault? Thank you.
Okay, we're at the minutes.
Okay, so
and-
now we have decided who's recording the minutes, who's gonna write them up? You've spoke, are you volunteering?
Sure. Thanks. Okay, so we have approval of the minutes, for January 14th. Back to here.
So you guys know that they were changed. I wanna tell you what I changed, what I sent to Judy, okay? Okay.
Anything big or? just-
No, but you got number 6. You know, she has them all numbered. You go down to number 6. Dupre said that he would ask the city to include Morningstar as part of the 2014 budget, and that's in there, so you guys gotta know that that was changed. Also,
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
see their old number? See those
Yeah.
numbers? Okay,
Six.
for number 6.
I see it, I don't understand why the city is including Morningstar as part of the 2014 budget.
Because that's what Nate said he was gonna ask the city to do.
That's a budget for a year that's done already.
Yeah, we can, sometimes you can get, depending on, you can, and I don't know if it'll be successful.
Are we talking about getting more money? or
No.
Just changing what
Just
the budget
changing-
was?
Changing when,
Counted.
putting it as a 2014 expense.
Oh,
rather
I
than
see, so we're gonna pay for it last year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, under number 8C. It should read work plan that the library will approve. Cause they didn't approve anything when we met, okay? Number 10,
This is in here already, that's the change, right, just major changes, right?
number 10. It should say that the Friends, not the library, gets the money of the $685. So find number 10.
Yes.
And
Just
yeah.
update it down.
And the outreach motions should say, should cross off the last sentence.
Outreach says, the last sentence is, she would like to ask the board to formally ask the Friends of the Library.
No,
to
no,
commit-
no, I'm sorry. It's on page, yeah, it's under outreach. It's the last sentence. It says, she said she thinks she did not do that. That sentence should be struck.
That's good.
I just thought,
That has not been stricken, so we need to report back to Judy to strike that last sentence.
okay. And, also, let's see, so we're under the, let me make sure, that I didn't think that was changed under,
I was pretty sure you did say that, actually.
I thought I had done it until I looked, and then I found out I hadn't done it,
Right.
so I
But
didn't do
it
that.
was in the publicity, and you said you didn't think you did it.
Yeah, and I
So
found
that-
out I didn't do it,
So that line should stay in there. She says she thinks she did not do that.
but I found out I did not do it, and that's why I'm
It
taking
says,
That's what it
it says you
says.
did
Oh,
not do
okay,
that.
okay, you can leave it then if you want to, but I didn't do it.
What are you doing?
Under workshop
Leave it.
dates, did we change that? It said, so it says, under, oh, let me see, guys, because we gotta know the
What page are you
numbers.
on?
8,
Page 8.
no, item 8E. Workshop dates. And it should say, on the second line, it should say, workshops to discuss the work plan that the library board will approve.
Sorry, I came from the finance committee meeting though, so I have a good excuse.
So it doesn't say will.
Oh, Ann's talking money right now.
Julie.
She wants more.
So we need to let,
Yeah, I
so
guess.
that's the only change so far that Judy has not made.
And
Say-
then.
Just say it again, and then Julie for the camera so she's got it.
On page 4, under 8 E as in Edward. It should say, under workshop dates, it should say, Buchek suggests that the library board meet with the city council at one of their workshops to discuss the work plan that the library board will approve, because it hasn't approved one yet.
Sure
Okay?
you did that.
Yeah, I
It's
thought
not,
so.
it's not been updated.
Yeah,
not in the
I thought
packet.
so.
Do you have it updated?
I guess not. I think it was something
Okay, I'm sorry, guys, I'm not doing this in the right order. 7, F as in Frank on page 3. You guys tell me what's right, Nate. It talks about, Emmett said there should be a summary of each committee's accomplishments for 2014. The facilities committee has completed theirs. DePrey said they should be included in February's board packet, but he needs them next week for this
Oh.
series. It's next month, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it's next
no, it
month,
should be a
guys.
month.
It's not a big deal, but just to let you know, it should be next month.
Okay.
Okay? And that's it.
Okay.
Sorry I didn't get them all to Judy, I didn't get them done all at once, sorry.
Julie,
Screw that.
we do have a camera going,
Okay.
and if you'd sit over here, you'll be on camera. Where you are, you're not on camera.
But you're nicely blocking a few of us, so I think it's just.
And notice where Ann discreetly placed
And if you're
herself.
comfortable,
I'm
go
kind
for
of
it.
comfortable not on camera, so
Anyone now?
they can still hear my voice, right?
I believe they can.
Okay.
And to explain to you, there should have been a person here who was gonna be running the camera, but she had a death in the family. So I set it up, and there's some question as to whether or not I got it right. So we're also recording the
Okay.
meeting with
Gotcha.
us, so
Very,
wish us luck.
okay.
All taking care of minutes first. Judy's got
And I'm
it.
doing minutes in Judy's absence.
Okay, so is everyone fine with the amended minutes then?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on. Public comment. You're
Oh.
talking about an agenda item.
Julian.
Yeah, I got an
we went
email that Julene sent to Brett, and then she said it bounced, so it didn't go through, she said, and so she asked me to bring it. I sent it to you too, so I could, it says, Brett, I'll read the whole thing to you. Brett, I had planned to come to tonight's meeting and make the following comments in the open forum, but I have an unexpected conflict. I would appreciate if you would read the following message. Do you wanna read it? Yours says, do you? You read it.
We have a highly regarded children's program every Friday at 10:30 a.m. 8 to 12 children attend regularly with parents and grandparents. An integral partner of this program has been Steve DeLapp. He made a mobile, when it hangs from the roof, inspired by an Alexander Calder design, and had the children assemble it at story time on January 30th. He teamed with me in teaching balance, colors, shapes, and alphabet. We read Sandy's Circus, a story about Alexander Calder, and the children built mobiles to take home. Steve's dedication is very much appreciated. All board members are invited to. Very nice. All board members are invited to participate on future Fridays. From Julian Swenson, volunteer from September 2012 to February 2015. So thank you,
Here,
Steve.
here.
That was very nice.
Nice.
Thank you, Steve. Well done.
No, you can put it in the
I had no
minutes.
idea
Oh, yeah.
she was doing something like this, but I think the last line is important, that the sophistication of these kids is not all that great, and I'm sure they'd be, knitting would excite them. I mean, if they learned about what happens with plumbing and stuff like that, it would be fascinating. Some of them aren't even past toilet training, to say the least.
And we're gonna teach them about plumbing?
Something like that.
No, but I mean,
The thing is
There's-
kind of interesting, the other thing
there's
is.
lots of things that anybody in this room could
Sounds
share
like a
with them.
great
that-
hands-on,
Because Nate does half of them, and
Session for the kids, so.
Jolene does the other half, is that what it is?
Yep.
And Karen, so that I'm sure that any of them would be
Opportunities
happy
for
to,
people to pitch in if they
yeah.
get
And the thing is pretty interesting, because Jolene was telling me about this one, because she needed some supplies. And anyway, she said, I was gonna do sponge painting. If you look, there's little hearts up in the front window when she done them. She said, I was gonna do sponge painting, but I've decided that we've done too much stuff with our big motor skills, and so I'm doing finger painting because they need to use their small motor skills. So the thing is, yes, and so there's a lot of thought put into these story times. It's just not reading books, but she's thinking about the curriculum. So,
Well, when she did the one that I helped her with, Calder does his, and that wasn't our invitation, it was, I mean, I was copying it.
Is it installed already? Yeah.
So the kids put it together.
Into the meeting, we can go
Yeah.
along.
But the key was that it's about how something that looks like it, no way in the world is gonna balance, it's all, but it balances. And so she had them put together some coat wire,
Coat hangers,
coat hanger,
my coat hangers.
things with things on either end, and then like, and and they held them up, and they were all like this, and she showed them how they could balance it out, and what balance is, and how things work, and I thought it was kind of fascinating that the kids
So
could
they
learn
may,
something
they
like
may be
that.
small, but they're learning.
Yeah,
That's the important thing, okay?
Good.
And
That's
Steve
very
helped.
nice.
Yay, Steve!
I helped.
Steve helps every week for 3 years now.
Looks like next is annual election of officers. And somebody's reminding me, Paul, or you and Judy had agreed to take
Yes,
interest
and
like
since
things up.
Judy was going to take care of this, I'm going, we have a slate of officers. Brett has consented to serve for the coming year, and Sarah is vice president, and secretary will be Judy.
Who was put together and forward by the committee, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
So that is the slate that the committee is putting forward for the board's approval, and my understanding is at this point, if somebody wants to nominate somebody for one of those positions, this would be the time to do it.
Correct, that would be my understanding. Open the floor to any other nominations for any of these positions. Any suggestions?
I don't see anybody starting a stand.
Sounds good to me.
Someone want to make a motion then?
Move to accept the recommendation. Can I do that? Yes, I can.
Yes, you can.
Second? Second? Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining?
And thanks to all the people who are doing this.
Okay.
Welcome aboard.
This is your 86 cents.
Cool, that's right, I got delayed by a month, but got it taken care of, orderly.
Right.
So appreciate your being the hub for that, and keeping
Did
this.
any change?
No. Thanks, Jerry. Director's
Not
report.
necessarily. The law.
This is not
The-
the form.
The main thing I wanna draw your attention to is something that, Ann Buchek caught yesterday. We are experiencing a discrepancy in, from Equinox in our library circulation totals for last year. If you run a circulation report one way, you get one number, and if you run a circulation report another way, you get another number. For the January 2014 circulation, there's a 53 checkout disparity. That shouldn't happen. I spoke with Equinox this morning, early this afternoon. They're aware of it, they don't know what it is right now, but,
They don't know.
it's, no, I mean, that's, yeah, it's,
It
Make you
can't,
feel
it can't be
positive,
just
doesn't
us,
it?
can it?
I'm sure it's not just, I mean, but it's,
What's the discrepancy between exactly?
okay, so when I ran the circulation numbers for January, I also ran for January of 2014, so we don't have a point of comparison. And what Ann pointed out, which was a great catch, was that the number that was presented last month for, the entire year was different than the one that was in my director's report. I think it was 900
58 books different.
so it
So
was.
it might be that one of them counts a book if it's checked out twice.
It could be renewals or something, I mean, we don't know what it is, yeah, and, it's a small enough number that I'm not that nervous about it, but it's something that, these are circulation statistics. I've talked to the board many times about how that's the bedrock statistic, and we really wanna count on that, and if we can't, that's a problem. And so,
Then we try to get it straightened out.
yep,
And you know what, I found other ones too when I went back after I found that one.
Mhm.
So there's more. It's kind of screwy, because I don't want, I want to save paper, so that's why I was writing them, I said, whoa, these don't all match. Anyway, pretty interesting.
Odd. Any other questions on the director's report?
Is it the kind of thing, just not knowing the software that they, agree to look into and try to help find the problem? I get
Yes.
that they maybe couldn't do it on the spot, on the
Right.
phone, but the,
Yeah, that's, and
And pay
really
annual fee
this,
for support.
yeah, and they, yeah.
For Julie's sake, we use Koha, that's an open source software developed in Australia for libraries. But we hired a company called Equinox, which most people who use Koha in this country use, to provide software support. It's a place you can call up if you got a problem and customize certain things. Right?
It's New Zealand. It was developed in New
New
Zealand.
Zealand, oh.
And
Oh, that's right.
there are a number of providers that
I think I should
support
go visit them. Is that authorized?
I definitely think so.
Tax deductible business.
Budget item somewhere for that. Next is. Something else?
Director's report?
Voucher? Yeah, I asked before, so
Okay,
any other questions?
so,
on the
yeah.
director's report?
So you talked about this, and I am not good on this, guys, so I'd like a little input onto this one. But you guys are talking about changing the website to, oh, should I do-
WordPress.
Thank you. Anyway, when I was reading the stuff about how you joined MELSA, they were talking about their websites, and so I thought, I'm gonna see what all these websites look like. And I went to let me write down, WordPress?
Yeah, lots of
I don't
libraries.
know what I can.
The city of Lake Elmo uses WordPress.
Oh, that's what ours is.
Yeah,
I thought it was,
I
okay.
wanna know, if you do that WordPress thing, do you have to, does it have, advertisements on it always or not?
no,
Okay, so we don't have to have advertisements.
correct.
Okay, that's my concern, because I was checking out all these other guys' websites.
That's a separate decision. If you wanted some revenue from it, you could decide to do advertisements or not.
Correct, yeah.
But we don't have to, because the other libraries
Let's
don't
put
have
some ads in, we can
advertisements.
get the revenue.
There are a couple of different kinds of WordPress accounts. I just learned a tiny bit about this yesterday maybe. And there are free and paid different kinds of things. I mean, there's a whole catalog, and Denise probably knows a lot
Whatever.
more about it, but,
But the other guys don't have advertisements, was my concern.
Even for the free accounts, there's no advertising? Or are you not thinking about a free account?
You know what, right now, I can't speak intelligently about that.
I think that there's not, because WordPress is a software that writes the page, it's not the web host. It's just it's like Microsoft Word that you might use to write a letter, or you might use Google Docs to write a letter. Well, you
Okay.
might use WordPress to design the page, to put the pictures here, and as a way of communicating, I want this to be in bold, or, you know, I don't think it's about the hosting.
So there would be no management company, no management fees?
It depends, but I know so little about it, that's probably all I should really say.
Okay.
But I think we decided it was pretty free, we told Nate to do it last meeting.
But you don't know if it's free or not.
It's,
Well,
the costs are minimal, I
the-
think,
Oh,
yeah.
I think, okay, I didn't know. Okay,
WordPress is pretty well known out there as a.
It was something like
as an
$80
easy
to buy an
way-
expensive
As an, I
very
know
cheap.
so many people who have transferred their website to WordPress, it doesn't surprise me that we would want to.
Even for campaigns.
I wouldn't know, I didn't set my website up. Still managed to get elected.
Clearly, WordPress is not necessary then. Okay, so that's the end of the
Anything
director's
else?
report, right?
and so, Morningstar isn't yet, where are we on Morningstar?
It is included in this month's vouchers, and it can be set up as early as Monday.
Okay, and, the EBSCO thing, which is the car thing, we had it in the vouchers on 12/3.
Yeah, I've gotta get to the bottom of that. I don't have a good answer for why, they have yet to receive payment, and I don't know what that is. I need to work with the city to find resolution there, because the voucher was approved by us, and I don't have an answer.
Sent over to the city and people saying they haven't gotten the payment. Okay.
Okay, and, you know, I'm not a big deal on this, guys, but is it really important how many people you have on your Facebook? Or, does
Yes,
that really matter?
Yeah.
it has a lot of value.
Okay,
What are we doing then to promote it, because the numbers don't seem to be increasing very rapidly?
No, they're not. you know, it's not my top priority. I think it does have a value, but I'm a little overwhelmed in my day-to-day activities here, so, you know, it's.
I don't think it's any value, so don't worry about it.
Well, I can answer part of the question.
I'm sorry.
Shut your mouth if you don't say mean things. I manage the Facebook page for the Friends, and I sometimes will put something on the library page, but also having a few things on my plate, I don't spend a ton of time on it. But the Friends does actively promote their page, and that's why our numbers are increasing.
And you've been around longer.
Pardon me?
And you've been around a lot longer.
Yeah, that's right.
And
that's right.
Sarah likes
Well,
them
the
once a
Friends
day.
Facebook page is only a year or 2 months. Well, no, it's a couple, you're right, you've been. But the Friends will post Ann's, advertisements.
I think it's more
And
important.
we'll advertise the Friends and we'll advertise the library. We're doing some paid promotions, to bring people in the door.
But I think it's more important to have the stuff on the website.
Oh, it's not an either or at all, it's a both.
Yeah, the
Well,
website
But I'd like to
actually,
see everything on the website.
Oh, for sure.
That's missing some stuff, so to me, the website, because, you know, in my little mind, I'd rather have it on the
We
website.
only have one page, it's not gonna get much.
You know,
So
That's
that's
the
why we're
problem.
working
I
on the
think what's
website.
different,
they have
is
different,
that
I know, they have
if
different
it's a
ways.
Facebook thing, you can send something out so that somebody sees it. Like, you can force them to get noticed.
Yep.
I know.
You know what I mean? And on the website, you have to rely on them to go to the
Go to it.
website to
It's a
see it.
push or a
So
pull.
I think they're both real valuable tools, and, you know what I mean? Different people use them differently, and, so I see value and difference in them both, but.
Depends on how old you are.
That's
No,
true.
nobody's saying not to do it on the
Until that-
website.
yeah.
I mean, your point on the website, I mean, it's just different people, like, use different social media in
To do
different
different
ways,
stuff.
so.
I know, and then
It's
there's the
good that we're
Pinterest
reaching
stuff
everybody.
and all that other
Yeah.
stuff, but, okay,
That it?
that's mine.
Okay. Do you have vouchers?
I do. There are 5 bills, but there are 3 of them are, well, 2 of them are pretty significant, our Amazon bill and the Morningstar voucher. The Morningstar, we got a 20% discount, so it was lower than what we had, budgeted for. We are having a repeat performance of the Ancestry.com, program, so,
Oh, awesome, when's that gonna be?
that is going to be.
It's gonna be on
March 7th?
Saturday, March 7th, and we have 13 people already signed up.
Gosh, I wanna come too, can you do it again after texting?
What, Saturday, March 7th?
March 7th, the first Saturday of March.
Oh, I told Bob Engstrom March 1st.
No, March
Well, yeah, I
7th.
told him to call you though.
Okay,
I'm so
first March
glad,
7th.
that's awesome.
March
Nice
1st
job.
is a Sunday, I think.
I don't know.
And the Amazon included 2 laptops, 1
Yes.
laptop?
Oh, this included, the Amazon was the 2 laptops?
Yep.
Okay, and the Sherry's, thing for $120 is just not mileage, but it's also her fee, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I
So
was gonna
it's,
say, it's a lot of miles.
yeah, it's a lot of mileage. So I just wanted to let you know it's her fee
It's
also.
California.
All right, I'd make a motion to approve these.
Okay, any more discussion?
Yeah, I got one question, Nate, we talked, an hour ago about the guys who were owed $8,500 for the gutters and the trim over there, that looks a whole lot better now. It's not, we're not totally embarrassed as people walk by, totally. But they didn't fix the stuff on the other side that Jolene brought up in December, and then I notified them of. And I mentioned it to them, and they sent back a note, well, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I'll resend you the drawing I did and the comments I had. So I don't think we should pay them until they get that resolved, even though they're separate contracts.
It's fixing some stuff they did before.
Well, the 2 gutters
Okay.
both start high here, and low in the middle, but one of them's low here and one's here, and they're both the same length. So you'd think they'd be like that. And Jolene
that's
saw the one that was shallow, water dripping off the edge, because it wasn't sloped enough. That's how she saw it. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing it's true or not. That's how she saw it.
So we'll try to keep an
And-
eye on that one and hold off on the payment until.
Well, the question is, if he comes out and deals it, because they're working on this right now, as you know, and they solve it, I wouldn't have any problem with Nate paying the bill, but I wouldn't, and not having him wait a month or 2 months more to get it. But on the other hand, if they
That's
don't
one
do
that's already
it,
been, that's one that's already been approved then, what you're talking about?
no, that is, the
The
payment
work has been
voucher
approved,
hasn't
but the
been.
voucher hasn't.
Voucher has-
So do we need to,
We haven't seen the
I
voucher.
mean, I wouldn't mind approving it, but as long as Nate
Yeah,
doesn't
well,
submit it.
We can approve it, and Nate can submit it, and we can instruct the check to be delivered to Nate, not to the contractor, which is, and then Nate can just hold it until the work is done to the
But we don't-
satisfaction of the facilities committee.
but they don't know that.
Well,
the price.
I mean, that's the entirety, is what's on the voucher, right? That 88,000.
8,500.
Yeah, I can quick print off the the invoice.
Do you know,
And we can-
Well,
We don't need to see it, I mean, I believe
so
it.
you do know the total price then, I was
It's
wrong.
8,500.
Okay, I didn't know, I
even
thought,
round number?
Oh, I've seen it, he sent it to me,
okay,
so I mean, I've seen it. It's consistent with what he said he would do. The only issue is, should we pay it if that still has some outstanding issues, and I'm thinking that
No.
that's some leverage we've got.
No, we don't pay it until he gets it done.
Yeah, I mean,
But on the other hand, I don't mind approving that work, it's just that work that's the
Well,
problem.
why isn't it on tonight's budget? Is it just that, or vendor list, is it just that it just came in?
no, it was, Steve and I had talked about it,
Oh,
and we
I
didn't
see.
have and so, that's,
It wasn't a closed topic yet.
no.
Until Nate and Dan work out a satisfactory conclusion over there, like it's okay, or I see that the angle's wrong here, we need to fix this, and then they fix it. Then when they come to an agreement and it's done, then we can pay it. But if he can't be paid if we don't approve it. So the question is there any advantage why we should approve it now versus wait for another month?
Did you want Nate to run and get that bill and add it to this, or just hold off and do it next month? So just sort of
Oh, I
do it
mean-
Next month.
Does it need to be paid upon completion, and if so,
You
is it
you
going to
deal
be
with this every
completed
day, if you don't
before the
care,
next
I
board
don't care, and
We're gonna
Nate
sell this
doesn't
completed
care.
already, isn't it?
meeting? But the other side, because it's the whole
He
thing,
knows
right?
it's being held off,
That
held
was
back.
done months
or-
ago.
No, he doesn't.
Nate, is he expecting to see payment on that pretty soon, or
I,
is holding on?
honestly, I have had very little communication with him, and none of it has been about payment, so.
Steve, to be real done, what was the other thing we had to pay $2,800 for, what's that, or
Be
22,000?
another month.
It's half done,
Okay, thank
That was
you.
done a while back, the $8,000 work.
I'll go look.
Why don't you grab the,
Yeah, let me just print that out quick, and then,
sit for another month, maybe it's better to.
So is it
get
the
resolved.
eight, Steve, is it 8,000 plus 2,000?
Yes.
That's a totally different contract, in our last
I know,
workshop
but it's the
meeting.
same guys doing all the.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For my benefit while they're doing that, do you, routinely approve basically every payment at board meetings?
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, so like, in a month, we have just had 5, I'm just taking
this
it all in,
one is-
so,
Yeah,
sorry, my
and-
questions are probably really.
And most of them have been kind of approved ahead of time, you have
Oh,
permission to go
wait,
spend it, and
then if you
not
wanna
spend it.
look, it's done,
Or the 28,
So-
looks
East
nice.
End
This is kind of
done?
a small list, but.
Is it, okay,
Yeah.
typically it's a little more, okay.
yeah,
It looks
Another
great.
thing, Julie,
never done
is
two
that,
sheets,
a lot of stuff is in the Amazon line.
That's
Some
the
books we bought, some computers we bought,
Sure. And
and
a lot of stuff has standing orders at City Hall, like the phone bill and Nate's salary and various other things, just,
And they don't have to come
they
to
get up,
this.
they're submitted
Right,
pre-approved.
okay.
I wonder how many squirrels he nailed in.
What else, other things do we catch you up on?
That was their last entry
But there's
point.
no, like, if it's under a certain amount, it doesn't have to go through
yeah,
this process.
there is,
and-
there's
What were
another
the
one
vouchers
after
yet?
for him.
We got off
It
on
was,
this. We didn't
this
vote,
is the
right?
petty
No.
cash I just handed
Oh,
in.
I mean, I don't need to,
No, it's
I'm
gotta be
just
straightforward.
more interested
We
in the
haven't seen
process.
any
Yeah,
other
but that's the
so
petty
I wanted
cash,
to
so
see this one.
we.
So small things you have with this and
you know,
then they.
while
The
we're waiting
company
for Nate,
paid, it's
good.
just waiting for this
Good
one.
deal.
Yeah, I just gave her $41 for some yarn for the knitting business.
So this one normally would be processed, but we were holding off because of this.
I wanted to, I talked to Steve about it,
And we do have a hold on, because they just finished that there, as far as I can tell, did they say that's finished?
they
Or
didn't stop in, they just, I mean, they didn't.
Okay, you didn't talk to
This
them,
this includes this new work,
no,
that's a separate thing,
that's a
This
separate
bill is
thing.
just the
So
south side.
we could hold off payment on that
but.
in lieu.
it's $8,145.
So are people okay with adding this $8,145, we'll pass it around for the past roofing contingent on Nate resolving the issue with the gutters? Or we wait and pay it next month, I guess.
So, Yeah, and, but you were gonna withhold the $2,000 to make sure he does that side correctly.
The
Is that-
2,000.
I just
We've
wanna-
already got $8,500 withheld. We're gonna have another 2,500 that's owed now. He could probably invoice us tomorrow. So we'll have $11,000
That
that we
corresponds
can
to the
hold
work that
on.
we have in question, right?
But what I'm saying is you wanted to make sure everything was
We're
done
gonna have-
correctly.
I didn't realize he
Once
had,
it's
when I
done.
came in, I didn't look up and realize he'd done the work there.
Okay.
So I didn't think we should pay him for that work until that was done, but now that he's done that work,
No, we wanna make sure that's done correctly.
he's owed 2,500 for the work he's just done over there.
But we, wait,
We still owe
Let's
them.
go back and do a timeline.
So,
we have
The
paid
north
for
work was done and paid for a long time ago,
Right.
but now there's a flaw. The
The-
south
the
work was
remaining.
done, we have the bill for 8145 in front of us. What side is that? That work was done,
East.
and we've not yet been billed.
So my suggestion was is that you pay off the $8,500, but you hang on to that money for,
And right now, that's reasonable
and hang on for
because,
that to make sure he gets the
and that's
west side
reasonable
done.
because they actually did the work.
Yeah,
If they didn't do that work, that'd be another issue.
but I mean,
But
pay
they
that
have.
that 85, because that's the big amount.
They started this
proposing
morning and they're
to-
done.
So we would add this to the vouchers and we would not put any contingency on it.
What's the value of the work that's undone?
Yeah.
What's the what?
What's the value
How
of
much?
the work that's yet to be done?
If they need to do any, and we haven't verified that, Jolene just saw some water dripping. It might be
Oh.
$400, might be
Or it's
300.
Or it could be something bigger.
So-
Oh, no, it's a gutter, it's either this way or
Ah.
that way.
Okay.
So
Okay.
then
So
it
it's a matter of,
seems to
like, hanging it
correspond with
higher
your
up.
2,000
So
sold.
I would like to have the
Let's
south
just pay
side.
that bill
I would like-
and,
yes.
and make sure we don't pay that one
Don't pay
until
that
that's.
one.
That's
resolved.
easier,
That's right.
because if we send it through with special instructions, it's,
That's, we don't want to get it screwed up.
So we're adding the $8,145 then.
Yep.
So update that, is that right, Nate?
Yeah,
What's the name of those people?
JTR.
Roofing, they're,
Yeah.
they're in, who's that architect in Lake Elmo that has that funny looking building next to the,
Evans, or Steve,
Urban?
Urban, that's his name.
So my total is 12,210.04 for this month.
yep, mine too.
Okay, good. All right, so was that, my motion was to approve the vouchers, including JTR Roofing for $8,145 for the south side work.
Second.
As amended, vouchers, any more discussion on the vouchers? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Alright. So a few of us were moving around, but we asked to, we thought we'd go ahead and move the solar presentation up to the next item.
Right.
Stick around much longer. Stand still. So we've been, Nate, do you wanna, Paul, you wanna just, we've been looking into some
Oh, all
solar
right.
options.
The
and-
state of Minnesota has a solar program that people have to apply for by the end of February, and then there'll be a lottery, and if you're in, and if you're selected, then you can go forward. If you're not in by the end of February, you're out of the program. Have I got that right?
This year.
So what we're doing today is saying, do we wanna be in? Now, we don't actually have to make a monetary commitment, I don't believe, until we're actually ready to do work. In other words, we could put in for it, and then in March or April, find out something, some reason why it doesn't work, and say, thank you, but no thank you.
So the winning the lottery does not obligate you to go ahead with the work.
Correct.
So that would, if you want it, then that would take somebody else out of the running that may wanna do the work if we don't proceed with the work?
My understanding is
That's
it
one question.
rolls over to, I mean, people are told that, stay in line because if someone drops out.
There's a
it
wait
could be
list.
Brought back in, there's a
Okay,
wait
there's
list.
a wait list.
And are there any costs or fees or any monetary output for being on the list?
Here I have to ask Nick.
And this is Nick.
Yeah, let's,
Introduce yourself.
Nick Nelson with All Energy Solar
Thank
out
you.
of St. Paul. To answer your question, no. But I guess what I would like to talk about is how we set up a project for a facility like yourself. And
So
so,
$0 output to be on the list, there's not going to be any type of a fee at all?
correct,
Okay.
correct. However,
Yes.
we would,
Read the fine print.
however, it does take substantial hours on our part to put these things together, so, we don't like to flood the system with phony applications, so we do like it to be something that you guys do have very much
Genuine
interest,
interest in doing,
genuine
yeah.
interest in doing, we don't wanna just flood it and say, yeah.
And Nick, all energy solars, what is your role in this process? You would be our installer if we?
Yeah, so if we take a look, I don't know who has got the handout that I had presented to Nate, but so how we set it up is, so, we would be the EPC or energy procurement contractor, and so, we set these things up, and, we are the ones that actually do the installation of the project, and so what we do is, we bring in a third-party financing company. And so our partner in that is Newport. And so they're actually also the owner of the solar panel manufacturing company. So they have a little added stake into it.
And their total name is Newport what?
Newport Partners, they do have a couple identities to make these things happen. So they have Newport Partners is their head company, and then to make these projects happen, they set up Newport Development LLC, who you guys would actually hire as and have your contracts with. And so there's a couple contracts that go with this. There's a construction contract to do the work for the solar system, and then there's a power purchase agreement. And so that would be for purchasing the power that the solar panels generate. And then there's also a lease agreement, so they lease your roof from you to have it on there, and then they are the owners of the solar system. And then you guys just pay them for the power. And then also with municipalities, we do an energy savings guarantee. And so that's how we supplant the bidding process. So these projects are worth a couple $100,000. And so generally municipalities in Minnesota have to go out to bid for something over 50,000. But if we provide a energy savings guarantee, then we don't have to go through that bidding process.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's what I was wondering, if we could even consider doing something.
yeah, and so we looked into it. And this is how.
So you're saying 200,000, we had somebody come in last time and said 125,000.
Well, we're bigger. We've got a bigger solar system
Than their other proposal?
Yeah, and so, so what we are looking at, is a 40 kilowatt, so that is the largest solar system that we can do under this Made in Minnesota program. And so, this program is run by the Department of Commerce, and it's set up to use solar panels that are manufactured here in Minnesota. And so we use a company called Silicon Energy, and they manufacture the panels up in Mountain Iron, Minnesota.
Excuse me, I thought you said Newport Development manufactures the panels.
Newport Development is the owner of the Silicon Energy. Silicon Energy is the actual manufacturer. Yeah, they're their parent company. So what we're looking at here is what we have space for is, I believe, 5 rows of panels on the roof, and then it pretty much covers from east to west. So you got the whole roof covered.
That's where the tree comes in.
Yeah,
Do we know if our roof can support that weight?
that is part of our project, is we hire a structural engineer to review the roof so that it can support the weight of it. The solar panels are actually pretty light. It's only about 3 pounds per square foot, so it's very minimal.
The snow load that it's designed for in 1919 was probably more than adequate. It's pretty tough framing here.
Okay.
We can send Brett up there with a flashlight.
He don't weigh anything.
Yeah.
I'm a structural person.
Oh,
Disclaimer.
Yeah, and so we'll talk about the process of it is, so we'll go through and look through the numbers in a second, but just the general process of it. So tonight I would like to get a sense of like if we're in favor of doing this project, because there is a slight,
well, give us an idea of what the library budget will have to
Oh.
reflect.
yeah,
Because we can't do anything without it being in our budget, either putting something in for next year, or taking something out for this year, or whatever.
Yes.
Can I ask one background question, just to get my mind further along in this?
Yeah.
Is this something that, we reached out to you to say we were interested, please come and give us a presentation, or do you find municipalities and you kind of encourage them to do it?
We came to them.
Okay, we saw that.
What I did is I went to the Department of Commerce website, and they have a listing of companies that do this work, and I just went down the line. Contacted everybody,
Okay,
and 2 companies came back, and
Okay.
you're now seeing this one.
okay.
And the other one is the one that Steve alluded to, which was a 32 kilowatt system.
Ah, okay.
And that one didn't have a power purchase agreement connected with
Which was the key thing that I brought up at the last meeting.
it. Yeah,
Right, yeah, that was,
Okay, thanks.
Because what they wanted is they wanted $125,000 in cash to save us $2,600 a year in energy. Well, you know enough about money to know that's not a good balance. No matter what
Thank
kind of
you.
rebates there are.
Okay.
Right.
I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean you're an idiot.
and at last month's
Stating
meeting,
fact.
Doesn't say whatever you want.
and at last month's meeting, it was, Steve came up with, this amazing idea that, well, if there's a company out there that would front the majority of the project and then take the tax incentives and so forth, that's what we should try to get for, and that's what
That's
led
what we
us
got.
here.
All right.
Yeah, and so we have done this, we have partnered with Newport Partners several times to do this. We do have other ones that we work with, but we do, for municipalities here in Minnesota, this seems to be the best fit, just because they are vetted into the manufacturing as well as putting it. And so, a number of different cities that we worked with, a bunch of projects for Red Wing, Crystal, Dakota County, those are all projects that we've done this. We've done a bunch of like condo associations. And we have done some private parties too, where they just didn't have the upfront cash, and so this worked out better. And so what we're looking at, on the front end, there's a 5% payment that you guys would do when we come time to do the construction of the project, which, for this, we're probably looking into the September timeframe, realistically. And that would be $12,000 is what you guys would have to come up for that. And then, after that, you would make annual payments for the energy. And so, how we figure the energy, it's 85% of what your applicable rate is. And so you have a 15% energy savings annually then for any power that the solar system produces.
Whatever we get credit for, we come back to, in other words, NSP has to, or wherever the Excel has to pay you a certain amount of money, which is a premium by state law, and we would pay 85% of what we would normally pay to you, to help improve that,
Correct. It basically,
and improve us.
as a lease payment, but instead of a lease payment where it's a set dollar amount, you're only paying for the energy that the solar system produces.
So we
Why are
would,
we paying for the energy that we're producing?
So this is the lease payment. So, this project, if you wanted to pay for it up front, would cost somewhere around $240,000. And so instead of that, you guys are paying $12,000 up front, so that 5%, and then you're making these annual energy payments, which you can see on here, are roughly around $3,600, $3,700. And then, of course, you've saved that about $400 or $4,300 a year. So
we'd say how much?
roughly $4,349.76.
roughly.
Roughly.
Let me help me out. If I can figure it out, anybody can figure it out.
Yeah.
The guy who was in here before had a 32 kW thing that he said would save us 26. That would be worth $2,600 a year in return.
Mm-hmm.
This is a little like 20% larger,
Yeah.
25% larger. So it ought to be around $3,000 a year in actual energy amounts, we save 15% of 3,000, it's about $400 a year.
Right.
We would save $400 a year, and for that, we would pay $12,000 up front.
Correct.
So the question is $400 a good investment for $12,000? For me, as a person who invests my money, I would expect a return of about $1,500 to $2,500 a year. So
Okay.
this would not, I wouldn't personally do it.
Yeah,
But the
so,
question is, how does it work out in the end that it makes sense?
Well, it would
Well-
take 30 years for the return on the 12,000.
There'd be no return, because every year you'd lose over $1,000 in value of the money that you, if you invested in 3M stock, it would have gone up that much. So you're throwing that, if the library invested 12,000 in 3M stock, we'd make 2,500 to 3,000 a year, but we're only making $400 a year by investing in the solar, except for the rest of the deal you haven't talked to us yet.
yes. Yes, so this is a, so these energy payments are going for 10 years. And then at the end of 10 years, there's a put and call agreement where you agree to purchase the solar system, either at a set dollar amount is the, I believe, put option, or a fair market value, which is the call option. And so that's roughly around $2,500, give and take. And then when we put the actual documents together, that number will be on.
$2,500?
Yes.
So it's less than 20% of the original 12,000.
Correct.
It's like, I could write down a check, I
Correct.
mean, it's just like nothing.
Yes, because essentially after 10 years, our investor has milked out the tax credit and all of the depreciation out of the system. And then at the end of 10 years, the rebate payments are over from the state. And so at that point, they just want to get out of it. They have no value.
What's
But
the
there's-
life of the system?
30 to 40 years.
But is it true that it's not as efficient after so many years?
Yep, so solar panels, there is a gradual degradation. So with these silicon energy panels, they're actually, their warranty says that they are guaranteed for over 80% of their original production 30 years from now. So,
I would imagine that the framework, the structural work, the roof, is as big an investment in the long term as not, and you could pull out the panels that fade after 30 years, when some of us may not be around, and put in new ones just using the existing framework, or we may have to re-roof the roof anyway, and
yeah, so there's a couple things to address there.
That makes everything more complicated.
Yeah, it does.
So, couple things with that. So we actually can see what each panel produces. So we have monitoring on it. Each panel gets its own DC optimizer, so we can actually see each panel what it's doing. And so you guys can check that. There's also energy monitors that we throw for the overall use of the energy in the building, as well as the production of the solar system. So that's something that you can graph and display. But so to answer your question, yes, we can. Since we have that DC optimizer, that takes a wide range of panels. And so we can essentially pull out any panel and just put a new one in its place and leave the other ones in its place.
and we know that in 30 years, they're probably gonna be 40 or 50% efficient versus 15% now.
In
Quite
today's,
possible.
in today's dollars, what would it cost to replace a panel?
Just the panel price alone. So our basic installed cost on a project for these silicon energy is between $1,500 to $1,800
Per panel?
per panel.
And how many panels we talking about?
144. So 4 rows.
And what kind of a rebate is this company getting for having the?
Yeah, so the rebate's through the state, and so the state will pay an added 35 cents per kilowatt hour for every kilowatt hour that the solar system produces.
And you're expected to produce?
I believe it's roughly 50,000 kilowatt hours a year.
So how much does a building like ours normally use? What percent of our energy use is being offset by the solar
Let's
versus
take a look at what
excess?
we
Or
Julie, have you done all of the, if you mentally done all the calculations on a value of money stuff over 10 years and,
I can't do present value in my head.
oh,
So,
Well, I,
Why not?
so Steve, to answer your question,
I was
without
trying.
present value, the numbers that Nate has on it, it does have an internal rate of return around 20% on it over that 30 years. So, to answer your question as far as investing into a 3M stock versus investing whether the sun will rise every day, this is a safe investment.
3M is pretty.
The sun does not rise.
Well, it rises, you might not see it as much.
Yeah, but AT&T stock is $6.
well, I mean, the only reason I'm asking these questions, and Brett too, and others, is that we're accountable to the taxpayers.
Yeah.
And, if somebody holds me before the city council and says, or Julie in particular, since she's on the city council, you just screwed us.
Yeah, you blew
How can you do
$12,000.
that? We have to be able to have an ironclad justification in addition to the moral and ethical reasons for wanting to put in solar panels, which I think are unanimous, be positive.
Yeah.
I just did some quick calculations here, and I may be wrong, I don't know, but with the $12,000 outlay, the 35 cents per kilowatt hour, 50,000 per year, times 10 years, the company that's putting this in would, at the end of 10 years, recoup $187,000, and we would be in a position where we would have to replace 100 or so panels at $1,500 a panel.
We wouldn't need to replace any for 30 years, not
For 30
20.
years.
It's only 10
You
years.
said it's 80% good for 30 years?
80%
30%
production.
efficient, yeah.
Yeah.
But
efficiency.
for 30 years?
Yeah.
30 years.
Okay, for 30 years, okay.
What I would like to ask, if the library moves out of this building to a different place, perhaps the building is sold, who owns the panels, and can we take them with us, or do we still get does the library and the city still get the
So
revenue?
within that
Would that
10
travel with the building?
with that 10-year frame, that would, the financing company owns the solar panels.
Okay.
And they're
So that's
leasing
right.
the roof, from you guys. So,
And is there a monetary amount for the lease of the roof?
yeah, it's in there, it's very slight, I think it's something like $50 a year or something like that.
Token,
Yeah.
just for legal
Okay,
purposes.
the
Yeah.
thing is-
What if
Let
the
him
building
answer
for-
though, let him answer, can we take them with us?
No, you wouldn't. That would go to the added value of the building, and so you'd look at like a cap rate around 10%, and
But-
so.
And if the
But
building
after
burns
10
down?
years, then we would own them. because
You would
we-
own them,
we-
and you could do
We would write
whatever-
$2,500, and then we'd own them.
But it
Yeah,
probably
So
wouldn't
that would
be
become the value of the
monetarily.
building, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you probably would leave it in place, and with them producing roughly $5,000 in 10 years' time, that would add about $50,000 worth of value to the building.
Yeah, the
But we'd
thing
have to
is-
sell the building for that much more to recoup the part of our initial outlay that we haven't recouped yet.
And what if the building did burn
Wait,
down?
so she
You
asked
would
that.
basically recoup all of your investment year 11. So the
Unless,
first
so what
year,
if we move out ahead of time?
At year 8 or 6.
Then they own them and.
then you would continue to pay it. You're locking into the agreement for 10
Or
years.
whoever would buy.
Or
the building.
whoever would have to take over.
That would be part of the sales agreement,
Yeah.
and that would be one of the reasons they would buy this building. That'd be a positive.
Mm-hmm.
So did
You
have
lost
an
me on one
estimate?
number here,
Yeah.
you talked about making annual payments of 3,600 to 3,700 a year,
Mm-hmm.
and then you talked about the saving, I just need you to back up on those.
Yeah,
So,
Me too, thank you, Julie.
so we're paying 12,000
yeah,
upfront, then are we also making an annual payment to you?
yes, and so,
Let's
If-
just use one, $3,600 or something.
yeah, so if you see here in the packet that he gave us, so we do have the $12,000
Uh-huh.
upfront.
10 years.
Here is your displaced energy payment, so basically that's how much energy the solar system's produced.
Do you
and
wanna
you've
tell us what
saved-
page you're looking at so we can all follow along?
I believe it's the second to last page,
Like with 9, 10, and 11 on it?
with 1, 2.
1, 2, 3, okay,
Yes.
so,
Yeah,
I see
so
our
you
down
see
payment for
on the
12.
left, you see that, to answer her question, it was the displaced energy payment, so that's actually energy that you guys don't have to pay for to Excel. So you either saved it where you didn't have to pay it, or you actually produced more and they sent you a check for it, or you got credit on your bill for it.
They send it to us, or they send it to this?
They would send it
Newport?
to you.
Not to Newport.
So, yeah, whoever has the Excel energy bill.
So displaced energy payment is revenue to us.
Yeah, that's revenue
so-
to you. And then, so the second item there is your PPA payment, essentially your lease payment. And that would be 85% of what that displaced energy would be.
3,600.
Oh, all right, so we get a revenue check, whatever it is.
Yeah, your energy savings or
And then we
credit.
have to pay back 85%.
Yeah, so
We
essentially-
get to keep 15% of
Yeah.
that revenue.
So instead of paying Xcel Energy for your electricity, you're essentially paying Newport Partners at a rate that's lower than what Xcel Energy charges.
So is that, electricity savings, the next line, is that the net of the two?
Yes,
This is the 652,
yep,
is the savings?
yes.
And are these actual figures from the statistics of the library, or is this a figure that somebody came up with?
These are based off of your electric bill and the projected production of the solar system.
And to,
Why does
For-
it keep getting so much bigger? What am I not
Is that
seeing?
cumulative?
So there is a, so with the displaced energy.
Electricity savings per year goes up a lot.
Yeah,
What am I not
so-
catching?
Because
In there, they do
displaced energy is
have,
going up.
in the little fine print, I believe that they tell you about the inflation rate. Oh, so up at top. So in these figures, they have a 4% inflation rate for the Xcel Energy. So they're saying that they're gonna increase their rates on average 4% over that 10 years annually. And then the PPA rate goes up 2% annually.
Which one is the EPA rate? Oh, that's PPA, okay.
Yeah.
So each year, we're netting 2%
So it's
more.
not 36,
Yes.
it's not $3,700.
Well, that's.
Based on projections, so the PPA,
but the other issue is that we're not gonna use any energy in that roof in our building. We're gonna still get our Xcel Energy, but we're gonna sell all that, or they're gonna sell all that to Xcel.
And get a
They're
credit.
really kind of two different things. It's an offset, in other words. Everything that comes down, even if it was 10 times as much as our building actually needed, it would be paid for, it would go to Xcel, would write out a big check for it. Just like a solar field
two
you
separate
had
transactions.
yes and no.
in the
Steve.
farms.
Yes and no. So you would actually, the first thing you guys actually do is use the power in your building.
Oh, we would,
Yeah,
directly.
So you use it directly. And so, these are,
That's in a hot summer, on a summer day when there's, or full winter.
Yeah.
When there's no clouds and whatever.
yeah, you use it in your building first. And then the excess you sell back to Xcel Energy.
Okay.
And you get credit for it.
And the other company wasn't gonna do that. They were gonna set it all in Excel.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is, so you use it first, and then the
Okay.
excess you sell back. And then at nighttime, when the sun goes down, then essentially you can just pull that excess energy back to your
So,
building. And
Like,
then,
are you saying we don't have an Excel Energy monthly bill anymore?
you will, you always will, and we like that, because they pay you when you guys produce more. And so, if we look at, when I price this up, so you guys are the orange piece here, and that's what you guys used last year for energy. And then the green is what this system's gonna produce for energy. And so we can see that these months, basically February through June, we produce more energy than you guys used. And so you would get a credit on your bill. Do you guys have gas or Excel here?
Yes.
Probably do, yeah.
Yeah, so that credit then would go to pay off your guys' gas bill. And then if you have excess on top of that, they will pay you rollover credit up to $25. And then if you're above $25 each month as a credit, Xcel Energy actually sends you guys a check. And so that's all coming to you from Xcel.
So we, not the company, we actually get any overages.
Yeah.
And the way the system is sized, this is, what percent more energy is it producing than what we?
It's projected to do 115% of your total energy for the year.
15% over what we would normally use.
Yeah.
Obviously, there'll be some peaks and valleys and
Yeah.
changes up there. Okay.
Exactly. So, benefits that you get, so after the 10-year term, you've basically wiped out your electric bill here. You know, so you've eliminated some of your fixed operating costs. That's hard to do. And so, And then you do, of course, any
And
excess,
we
so.
wipe that out because we then buy the equipment, and so we're not paying the lease payment.
Right, exactly, and then, so that's when you really start, to be honest, that's when you really start making savings. Once you've, completed the agreement, then you get to save all of that money.
What
How much
happens-
is that a year in electricity?
It's, by year 10, you're probably talking about $7,000-8,000.
It's around 4 now, I think.
Yeah, 4 or 5 now.
Okay,
4%
so
inflation.
about 4,000 a year, okay,
Plus inflation,
yeah.
whatever. But in today's money, 4,000.
Today's
So
money.
what happens if you have a tornado and, it hits the roof?
We don't own it.
That's what I wanted to know.
Or pay 12,000.
So that, I'll have to double check with it, who carries the insurance, maybe it is on this little pamphlet they put out. Different investment companies do it a different way, sometimes the building owner has to carry the insurance on it, sometimes they carry the insurance on it.
Would there be any equipment that's not on the roof itself? Would there be any equipment that's at ground level?
There
on
are
the building?
inverters, inverters they're called, so what we have to, they're producing DC power, and so we have to convert that over to AC power so we can feed it into the building. And so more than likely, we'd have, I think 2 inverters, somewhere inside.
How big are they?
They're roughly 16 inches by 30 inches, and so we'd need wall space of about 4 feet
In our
wide.
utility room.
Yeah, we looked at putting them in the utility room.
Okay, what about insurance?
That's, we discussed
That's
it.
No,
what we're-
no, that's what I'm asking.
I believe, so last year, I believe that they had the facility, cover them for insurance. When I looked at, different municipalities for them to insure their 40 kilowatt system, they got their insurance through the League of Minnesota Cities. I
They
don't
do.
know if You do too. I believe that that annual cost was between $350 and $500 annually. Okay.
Important.
Our entire building was purchased 3 years ago, the building and the site for 240,000.
Okay.
So you're doubling the
So
investment.
we're making it worth some money.
So you can see that we're concerned that we not outlay, if we can do it because of all the government regulations and subsidies
Yeah.
and the public relations value that would accrue if we didn't give away the store. It's a serious thing, it's important, but we need to be sure that it's gonna be looked at positively.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we've had all really positive feedback from the other cities that have completed these
You
projects.
said Dakota County has one of their buildings with it?
Yep, on the Empire, their Empire facility, so we put one on their 911 call center, and then their, maintenance shops. So we actually they have just south of Roseville there, they have a facility, and we actually put 5 different 40 kilowatt systems out there. Most of them on the roof, and then some on the ground.
Pretty hefty.
5?
Yeah.
That's $1 million worth,
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah, and then down in Red Wing, we have
7,500.
like 2 carports at their public works building, and then in their downtown, we have a covered parking lot that feeds power to their community building and their city hall. Both of those were, the city hall, they wouldn't let us put anything on the roof, because it was historic. And then the, community center, when we did the review on that, it just didn't have enough, roof capacity.
Where this is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, those were both ballasted systems, so there wasn't roof penetrations, and we had to add concrete blocks to weigh them down.
Well, I mean, it's good angle, it's facing the right way, and it's not
Facing
gonna-
straight south, it's this nice, straight, unimpeded surface for us, so it's really
Can
nice.
you just kind of take everything you just said together though for us and say, at the end of 10 years, will we have gotten a return yet on our investment or?
It would be the first year after.
Year 11.
Yeah, year 11, you would recoup.
So for
Your
taxpayers
initial.
and whatever, we're basically not going to be ahead till year 11.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Basically, you're putting $12,000 up front to get a 15% energy savings annually. And then, you'll recoup your initial investment in a year 11. And you have an asset that's gonna last another 20 years on your roof, and you've eliminated your capital costs.
Well, it should last, I'll help you out on that, I mean, I'm not trying to push it, but the investment ought to be good for more than 30 years, it's not gonna,
Right.
it's not gonna just fall apart, I mean, it's still
Right.
there. The panels will be less efficient than new ones we could buy, but the framing will be there, is it steel or aluminum? Probably aluminum.
It's aluminum framing with stainless steel.
So it's not going anywhere,
No.
it's still gonna be as good as new in 30 years.
Yeah, no, I guess, to be honest, what we're really talking about is energy, and energy doesn't go out of date. You know, there might be more efficient ways of getting it, and then if it makes economic sense, we'd recommend upgrading at that time. But, you
We-
can just let it sit there.
We can change all these tubes right now to LEDs that are lineal, that's new, they're about $12 a fixture, and they reduce the cost by 50%, the energy. So we can definitely do some of those things, but the question
Well, I
is,
think that's the point, that energy changes that fast, that 10 years from now, we're gonna have an obsolete system, and we will have
Again,
spent our
that's,
money for 10 years, and really it's
that's why I
nothing.
say it's
There's no investment,
energy.
there's no gain.
It's energy, it doesn't become obsolete.
I'm saying the equipment will be redundant.
no, the
So
equipment,
we'll-
no, the equipment will just be lower efficiency than the
New
latest
stuff,
stuff coming out.
it's like the light bulbs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I
Yeah.
feel like, as you can tell, we're kind of getting up speed very fast on this.
Yeah, no,
I think
these
there's
are good
some
questions.
general interest, if we can kind of match that general kind of PR and environmental interest with the financial part, then I think we're steering that way. So I guess my question to you is, given that we don't have total 100% digested it and all for sure, how much time does it take to put together the letter of intent, is I think is what it's called? sort of?
Well, so,
Or is
we
that
actually
2
don't
hour,
need a
or
letter of
5 year,
intent.
or-
What I'd really like is just more of general concession. Maybe I just shoot over an email saying that, hey, we'd like you to apply for the rebate on our behalf. So there's really no binding commitment. And,
And then time it takes for you to submit that?
it takes
how
us
long,
about a
or
week to put the things together. And so we'd want to get,
Like 2 hours, 100 hours to put together a submittal for the
um,
lottery, or?
that's.
Well, let's toss this out. When I talked to 3M, somebody that I know over there, turns out, I didn't realize at the beginning, but it's called the operator, who's in charge of the 3M energy program as part of the employee program that
Yeah.
was announced. He said we wouldn't be eligible, he talked to the guy who handles the eligibility, and said, yeah, you guys, I mean, it'd be good to have you do it because it would be a great demonstration thing. We certainly want the stuff to be in the hallway so people can see what's happening without tampering it. But we don't do commercial, but apply for the lottery, this is what he said, apply for the lottery, if you don't get it, call us back. What other options do we have if we don't get it?
Well, and actually, I missed what the lottery actually does for us. We talked about all those 10-year plans and everything. Does that all assume that we get whatever we're supposed to get in the lottery? Or is it, does the deal get better if we get the lottery?
No, this is hingent upon receiving the lottery.
And
So,
Incentives,
And for those that bought lottery tickets today to win $500 million in upfront cash tax-free, the odds are low. What are the odds here?
so they are a little better than that lottery, but it is very highly competitive. As you see that 35 cents per kilowatt hour, that's an insane amount. to be
Oh, that's what the lottery does?
Yeah, that's what it does. It secures you getting that 35 cents a kilowatt hour for 10 years.
Okay.
And so, they have $7.5 million for commercial. They do get oversubscribed. Last year about.
Are we commercial or governmental?
You guys are commercial. On anything over 10 kilowatts, it's
Oh,
considered,
in
so
other
10
words,
to
a
40
government
kilowatts.
building doesn't get extra points.
No, you guys are in it with everyone else. And, so only about 30% got approved last year. So 1/3 that applied got accepted.
And what did you say about the amount of time it takes for you guys, number of hours?
It takes about a week to,
I mean, 40 hours to put together the,
I'll say more along the line about
10.
15 hours.
And when does it have to be in?
It has to be in by
End
the
of
end
the
of
month.
February. So we would really need to go ahead would love to say go ahead tonight. But we'd really need the go ahead, yeah. Question?
I'm not acquainted with solar panels. Are there different solar panels, and are your solar panels better than somebody else's solar panels?
They're made in Minnesota.
Made in Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's
that.
a big hunk of the incentives, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that it's a Minnesota
Yeah, so,
product.
How many different Minnesota manufacturers? are there?
yeah, so we'll just talk about that real quick. So there are 4 companies here in Minnesota. 2 of them are new this year. 2 have been around a while. Silicon Energy and 10K Solar have been around a while. Silicon Energy gets the highest rebate because they do the most manufacturing here in the state. All 3 of the other solar panel manufacturers, the solar panels are made of glass, solar cells, and then a back sheet. And so all 3 other manufacturers get that sandwich sent to them. And then they put the aluminum frame around it,
Oh,
and then put a junction box on it, and say made in Minnesota, where Silicon Energy actually takes them from the cells, tabs them, puts them in the sandwich, laminates that sandwich, puts the frame around them. So they do more of a complete manufacturing up in Mountain Iron. So they get the highest rebate because of that. They are built to be a little bit more durable than a traditional panel. They, like, just for looking at like hail, a traditional panel has a golf ball size hail, can hit it at 60 miles an hour, where these ones are, you can hit them at 90 miles an hour. So they're a little more impact resistance. We can actually walk on these panels where a normal solar panel, if you stepped on the middle of it, it would blow right through. So they are a little bit more durable, so.
There is a baseball field nearby, so that's maybe.
Yeah.
but Ann has volunteered to wash them once a year.
Yeah, right.
I bet you could get
Well,
Rosemary
what
to do
does
it.
happen with, what does happen with the upkeep of these things?
Yeah, so just general maintenance, so we'll talk about a really good maintenance schedule, and we'll talk about what you really actually have to do.
But who's
So-
doing it?
So, a really good maintenance schedule is giving them a visual look once a month, just make sure none of the wires have come unbundled underneath, so that none of them are sitting on the roof or anything like that. Do a visual check of the inverter, make sure that that's no warnings or anything on like that. Look at the monitoring, we have that monitoring system, just make sure that that's producing the way it should. Give them a clean once a year, just plain water and a squeegee. That's just to kind of get dust and maybe any bird poo off of them.
So you
And-
want somebody to go up on this roof with a squeegee and clean these suckers?
So this
You
is
can walk on them.
this is what a really good
And I wear my
maintenance schedule. What you actually need to do is
Squeegee
slightly
shoes.
different. You don't have to do a thing to them. They just sit up there and they produce energy. We get enough rain here in Minnesota. It rains every week to 2 weeks, where that is enough to clean off the dust, clean off the bird poo. When we're talking snow, so something like we got yesterday has melted off. That would melt off in a day or 2, and so the monitoring that I looked at today was full production. The like 10 inches of snowfall, what we really need is like 2 to 3 days of 25 degrees, and then that will slough off.
So if we get 10 inches of snow and it stays cold,
The solar panels are shut down.
So if we were
Yeah.
Boston, we'd be out for.
Yeah, so what happens in Boston?
Well, you don't have to go up there, you just don't get energy for 2
Yeah.
days.
But what if you're in Boston? I mean, they're talking about Boston, you're worried about roofs caving in.
Well, so we actually do have an office in Massachusetts. What you can do if you wanted to clean them off is take a push broom and like a fiberglass extension pole. Don't use a roof rake because that will scratch or shatter the glass, but you can use a
so you
push
could
broom.
clean it from the ground.
Yeah, exactly. I've had solar panels for 3 years and I don't do a darn thing with them. I just let them sit and do their thing.
So you're really saying the only thing you really need to do is visually look at it and check out the panel every month or so? That's
That
the
would be a
most important
good,
thing.
that would be a good practice, yeah.
Those are the 2 things that are really important.
Yeah, just check the monitoring, that's actually the most important thing, just make sure it turns on.
If the energy bill spikes triple 1 month,
That's
you
a
know you might have a
monitor.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So at least monitor the energy bill.
So I think we covered a lot of.
Which we should have.
Good ground, is the board want to look at
I have
going
one
into the
more question.
lottery, or do we, okay. Or do we wanna meet in a special meeting, or do we wanna just pass and?
I have
wait till
another
next
question. We don't actually own this building, the city owns the building. We paid for it with our money, but it's owned by the city. So what happens with, if we were to do this, since we don't actually own the building, that we have the right to put a name in for a lottery or even think about this?
I would be real uncomfortable with going ahead with this without going to the city council and saying, this is what we're doing. And if you have problems, objections, let us know.
I mean, we need some sort of a contract.
So that lease agreement would have to be with the building owner, so that would have to be with the city,
Yeah.
yeah.
On the other hand, we just authorized independently $15,000 worth of work around the gutters and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And if the carpeting's are replaced, we do it.
We pay for everything, we just
We
don't.
pay for
credit.
everything, but we technically, the city owns it.
Yeah, no, our lease agreement would have to be
Agreement with the
with the
city,
owner.
presumably, that
I would think so.
if we're gonna put the money in, that we'd also be able to budgetarily track it on our side. I would think that would be doable, but I don't know, I guess it's still.
But I think that's an important aspect that you got.
Julie, can you see any objections from the city
I
council?
can't see why it wouldn't be okay. I mean, I feel like they pretty much let you do what you wanna do with your budget, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
They kind of got
I
10%.
mean, there could
Julie
be
gets a
some
vote, incidentally.
legal thing that I'm not thinking of, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
But just on the surface, I can't think of any reason why.
The
There
fact
would be
that they've
objections.
already done it for a couple cities in the past is encouraging to me, and I would bet that Dean would be calling Crystal and Red Wing and saying, how does this work? And if there's a hiccup with it, then the city council would have the right and responsibility to say, no, don't do that, in which case, don't do that.
Nick, how old are your oldest installs in the state?
Oldest
Has
install?
anybody done this and is already in year 11, realizing the projected gains?
Our company started in 2009. Really solar really didn't get off its feet until 2009 when they started a rebate at the state level.
Okay, so we don't really have any actual case studies, we just have projections. to
But
look
the
at.
rebates, all the rebates are guaranteed for 10 years.
They are, so once you get approved, you've locked that in, that 35 cents, you've locked that in for 10 years.
I do have one more question, with regard to the lottery.
Which price goes back up, so we don't-
If we don't get the lottery, then the fact that the panels are made in the United States is not a big deal. We couldn't care less. We just want the best deal, as long as the financing the concept stays the same. If the panels were made in China, they'd be half the price, unless the tariffs have popped on to really screw that. So if we got the panels for the middle sheet of the piece of glass, then the solar panels, then the back sheet. If we got the panels for 50% less from China, would that make up for the fact that there's much higher costs in the United States? We lose the lottery.
Currently, we can't get an investor for a project this size with a traditional solar panel and the 8 cents a kilowatt hour that Excel offers.
Even if we were to be able to pay 50% less for the
Yeah,
actual
well, so
solar
there's two
panels,
pieces
the
of
cells.
that. First, they have to be bankable, so a financial investor won't use anything but a tier 1 panel, because they do own it, so they have to get a reliable panel. So there's the limitation of how cheap we can get.
So you're saying that cheap isn't a matter of saving money, it's a they get their cheapness by
By being cheap.
putting crap.
So function isn't a thing.
It's not apples, when they say, when the US government claims and puts the tariffs on, that it's not apples to apples, you're paying half, but you're only getting half a product.
A lot of times what you see when they're like really cheap is a company that's gone bankrupt and they have to sell out their stock.
That's why we bought this building.
Yeah.
Steve, I have an expert that you can call and talk to about panels from China. I'll give you a number after.
If we need to.
More questions, or can we move on?
Well,
we-
so does this look like, I guess for you guys on the board, does this look like something you guys want to move forward with the rebate application?
I'm comfortable looking through the rebate and giving ourselves a little more time to check and see if we like everything else and digest this a little bit. think it's short of saying we're definitely gonna do the project, for sure, in my mind, but what others people think. We could have a special board meeting if people wanna digest it more, and I think they do need to have it in by the end of February. That's when the close on the lottery thing works for this year.
My reservation is that the city needs to weigh in on it, but from everything I've heard, I don't think that'll be a problem.
You never know.
I'm gonna cast my vote with Julie, because her profession is finance, her avocation is environmental issues, and she's on the city council.
Okay.
So what does this think?
I'm not particularly interested in pursuing it at this time. I think we've got plenty on our plate. It seems like it's a worthy idea. It looks like the money might even be appropriate or close to appropriate. You know, I'm an environmentalist. I would be willing to even maybe a little more to be doing keep the environment cleaner. But at this point, I'm not really interested in spending the time to decide if it's a good contract for us.
Good point.
I would be interested, my reservations are that you've only been in business since 2009, so you don't have a track record, so that worries me a little. And also our relationship with the city for the money and for the contract, and we would definitely have to have a lawyer looking at this.
Let me address a couple of things. So, us as a company, in 2009, there was about 15 megawatts of solar installed in the entire state. And by 2013, there was about 19 megawatts. And in that same time period, we installed over a megawatt ourselves. And so we are pretty active, I will say, as far as solar companies. And we're not taking big bites like these 40 kilowatts. These would be considered small commercial, and up to like a 500 kilowatt would be like medium commercial. So we're not taking big chunks of it. So we're doing a lot of projects. And so just by those numbers, we've probably installed about a fifth of the solar here in Minnesota in the last 5 years in that same time frame.
It's kind of a new emerging area, solar, in the city at this
Yeah.
time.
Well, let me restate what I was gonna say. If we,
You're not
my
going with
personal,
my
no,
vote, Mark.
that's there, that holds. But I also, as an individual, feel that if our total energy cost over the next 30 years is either break even or a little bit higher and going to solar, I think that's the right thing to do for anybody, especially an agency like a library that's supposed to be a learning institution.
Well, the thing
So
is that
if
this-
I voted, I would say, if the numbers work out reasonably well, and I can't do that, they don't, just off the top of my head, they don't sound too bad.
Well, if it's 12,000 for 10 years, so it's a little over $1,000. I mean, what you're doing, if you're saying, okay, you don't do anything, it's a little over $1,000 a year, you're saying, we're throwing away. If you wanna be somebody who
Right.
doesn't like this, what you're really doing is every year, you're giving away $1,000.
That's
so
right.
$1,100, $1,200. So you can look at it that way, is it worth it? You could say, okay, I got those worms sitting out there chewing away.
Right.
Is that worth it? You know?
Your time is cheap.
No, my time is cheap. But what I'm saying is that,
Nice.
that is,
She knows.
yeah. But that's what I'm saying is that something that's environmental that we were
Right.
trying to do.
That's right.
You can look at it different ways.
I would say, being that I didn't have time to even open the email up after getting home from work, that this was such last minute disappoints me greatly. I would also say that Steve casting his vote with Julie, that Steve's time is cheap as well, and Steve is very good with numbers. If we are truly not obligated, and I do like the concept of solar, I would say, Steve, take a look at these numbers, put them together, crunch them, and in the time that we have for this little space, see if this is something that you think is feasible, because I've seen you take things apart and put them back together. Time's cheap, Steve.
We have two CPAs in this room.
Well,
It's tax
Julie?
season.
but you're the one who looks at the nitty details.
I am wondering, also, seeing as this library and this board are even still a relatively new body, you know what I mean? They've just kinda taken on the management of this library, and, I mean, there's a lot to running a business when you're in the earlier stages, you know, and gets easier and easier probably as you go. If they didn't do it this year, can they do it next year? You know, just
Yeah.
like to the point of, I don't know if there's probably a lot of other things that they could spend their time figuring out if they're the right things to do as well, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, and weighing that as.
Yeah, so, so this, as I say, this is a state-run program, so, so next year the rebate will be dropped. The intent is to phase them down as they go, so it'll be less next year.
What
Whether
was
the
it last year?
manufacturer, it was 39 cents,
And so it's
35
dropping every
cents.
year?
Yeah, so it's dropping every year.
What did it start out at, do you know?
39 cents was,
Oh.
yes, last year was the first year of this form of the program.
Is it possible that it would be renewed with a different amount at some point in time?
More than likely not. I guess the conversations at the state, since we have a little switchover on who's running things, this program could be axed as part of the budgetary cuts.
Could this program be axed in 3 years?
Yeah, so
The
essentially.
house could kill it anytime they want it.
But the rebates we've also already signed up for.
Aren't,
Then
is
No,
the
what
rebate a
about the rebates?
guarantee?
The rebates are guaranteed, so what they do is they take that, your projected production, and they set your funds aside that they need to pay you for 10 years. And so you've locked in that
Right.
35 cents for 10 years.
What do you think, Julie?
It's a hard decision for me, to be honest with you. I wish the payback was sooner than 10 years. That's one of my, you know, and being really new to this body, I'm probably the worst person in the world in this room to say this, because I just don't know everything you have going on yet, but my gut tells me you have a lot going on, and that since this isn't going to see an immediate return, it's not the best thing for us to focus on right now, even though I agree with all the benefits of solar. I mean, so that's why it's a hard decision for me. You know, if we were, I don't know, been
Well-
around for 10 years and, you know, we just like old hat at this, and
Someone
we're
could take it on
looking
as a
for
pet
new
project.
initiatives
But
and.
one of the things we have as an initiative to be on the
Sustainability.
favorable side is we are starting slowly, because we aren't spending the money, a collection of resources on environmental sustainability. So that would tie in quite well with that and give it a big jump start in a sense.
The rebate, if we weren't in this building for 10 years, the rebate stays with the building.
The rebate itself goes to the financing company. The energy savings in the panels would stay with the building.
Which would make this building more valuable.
Correct.
Maybe.
Yeah, and not if they're obsolete panels.
Suppose.
Well, again, to address the obsolete panels, there's coal manufacturing plants that were built 75 years ago. There's obviously better coal manufacturing plants now. That does not make those ones obsolete. They're still producing energy that you are buying right now. So the energy
What
that
I want to
comes
say is
off,
their resale value isn't significantly improved by having older equipment.
the added value comes based on a cap rate. So when you look at commercial real estate, what you invest in the building versus what you expect as a return annually. And so usually if you invest $1 million, you expect to get $100,000 back a year in revenue from it. So this adds about $5,000 today in annual revenue to it, so it'd build the value of your property $50,000 today.
Coming up with $12,000 for this library, again, me being brand new and not knowing,
You don't, the way you take it from is, instead of paying for the sewer, in a lump sum, which we haven't decided to do yet, you take the other kinds of payment and you do it, over time. That's what you do money from.
We've got a bathroom that could maybe be done, that we've got funded, but it could be done by ADA grant money from the State Library Association. we've got landscaping and sidewalks that we were gonna do this year, but now a lot of it's gonna be done next year because the sewer's going in next year there instead of this year.
I feel pretty confident we could probably raise 12,000.
I was just gonna say, could we get a grant for the 12?
Yeah,
Where are you gonna get a grant from?
Don't ask,
Inverter or something?
just take it.
I mean, yeah, it's,
A couple ideas.
I feel like we could probably offset the cost from this through local service organizations or a Bremer grant or, through,
So you think we might even be able to fund the initial 12,000 and there wouldn't be a payback?
That would be
We
it.
have the money, there's
So-
No, that's
Yeah.
different.
Our question
That's
tonight is, do we
different
wanna
than what
waste
Nate
too much of
just
his
said.
time putting together?
right, I would try and fund it, and especially since we wouldn't be doing an installation until September, that gives me a little bit of time to, try and find some money for it.
So you see what I'm saying, Steve? That's a different, so when I said a little earlier, well, one thing that's a con for me is if it takes 10 years for this to pay for itself. If we get a grant to fund the $12,000, this starts paying the library back in year one.
Or if
Do you
it's,
see the
or if
difference?
it's a 5-year, if it's a $6,000 grant, it's
So
maybe
if
5
there's
years.
truth in what Nate said, and I think, there's grants out there for sustainability, then it negates one of my cons in my mind. So,
If you win the lottery, how long do you have, if you win the lottery, how long do you have before you have to decide if you're going to accept or reject it?
Good question. And when do
We
you
have
find
the
that
year.
information out?
Hmm?
They want us to install the project before the end of the year.
So say October.
Yeah,
Well-
so you have roughly, you have roughly October,
So
yeah,
if you-
sure.
If you won the lottery,
When do you find out if you win the lottery?
yeah.
Like third week of March.
Okay, so then we would talk
So-
about it in April.
May, June, July, August,
Or
I'm saying is
May.
if you wanted to get, if we wanted to get
We could
the,
talk about it in March and see if we wanted to go forward with it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is that if you won the lottery, you would then busily write your grants, your application grants immediately, if not sooner, because you would have to present that to the city since they own the building, and that's the way to get the city's approval.
We have also in past financed it. So rolled it into the agreement for 10 years.
At what interest rate?
I'm not sure at this time. I would assume it would be somewhere close to a 5 or 6%.
There's another thing
I'd
is,
like to take this as their baby and run with it, because if no one's gonna babysit it and check all these assumptions and, crunch the numbers and kind of be the contact person,
The
then
other
I think
thing
we also have to give it
is
a
that in
test.
California, they're doing a lot of solar, and I know Sierra Nevada Brewery is
Yeah,
has,
no,
is
it's like the
completely
gutters.
with their
We
own
do.
thing. How are they doing for
Make sure he's telling the truth.
a return?
You babysit
Where do
sewers?
they stand, those, the
No,
companies?
you
You know, Sierra Nevada, actually,
Yeah,
because they're, that's,
the brewery, yeah.
yeah,
It's very hard to compare what they're doing in California to what they're doing here
because of the sunshine out there.
because of their electric rates. Where out in California, they have a tiered rate system for how much electricity they use. And their first tier starts roughly around 18 cents a kilowatt hour. And then their tier goes up, and their highest tier is about 54 cents a kilowatt hour.
It starts from 18,
Starts at 18
and ours
cents.
is 11?
Yeah, right now, here around 11, residentially 12.
Okay, so you really can't compare.
You can't compare. Again, like in our Massachusetts office, they're the same way, where they're 18 to 23 cents.
That's what it actually costs, yeah.
Yeah, so you can't compare the two, it's a different playing field.
Well, I go out on a limb and say, I think it's worth it to go into the lottery. See what happens, because I think there are advantages, and for me, one of the big things is if then we get the lottery and we can keep moving on possible funding, it allows for the opportunity for the environmental aspect and for savings each year out of the budget.
Yeah.
It's like, then to me, it's like win-win,
It's,
except for the time.
right, and I feel like my thought is, we should put in for the lottery because we're not risking anything by putting in for the lottery.
Do we have to sign anything?
No,
Who wants, What's the right motion to ask on that maybe Brett, even though you're the chair, you
Yeah, I
can-
think pursue the, putting us in for the lottery, understanding that's. a
Well, Paul's taking the minutes, so you gotta have something he can write.
Well, what is the name of the lottery?
The Maine and Minnesota rebate program.
That the
That's
board
what
would
you call
support submitting a Made in Minnesota lottery, understanding that.
Application by Nick,
Nick Nelson.
Nick Nelson.
Understanding that
Larson
it's
All
Nelson
Energy
Nelson.
Solar. Yeah.
Understanding it's a non-binding, show of interest, if we. Yeah, that's it. That's all the whereas is later. Something like that, is what I was envisioning.
Is that your motion?
Well, I'll make it, I don't care.
Okay.
Sorry, not you.
Right.
So I want a second.
Word
with that.
supports an application for the lottery and
No, the Made in Minnesota
the
rebate.
Made in Minnesota lottery.
No, rebate.
Rebate.
Rebate
Solar rebate lottery,
No, no lottery name.
okay, right.
by Nick Nelson of All Energy
Solar.
Solar.
St. Paul, Minnesota.
United States for.
Smart aleck.
Non-binding.
Motion is made by Steve, seconded by,
Second,
I'll second.
second by Ann.
Well, it's guaranteed to lose now. So I don't mean up here, I mean the rest of the city. Let's get some,
So, discussion on the motion. Is that a workable motion? People generally wanna take the next couple months and see if we think
Yeah,
it's
you
still all
see if you
pans
win the
out.
lottery, and if you don't, then, if you don't win the lottery, I don't think it's a good deal.
we can apply next year too.
Oh, yeah, you don't,
It's not really-
If it's 30% a year and it goes for 3
We like
years,
it.
or it's still 30% every year, it's like flipping a coin. Sooner or later it'll,
And then,
Any more discussion? All those-
if we're gonna move ahead with this, who's gonna be in charge of this?
Pet
Who's gonna
project, are you
volunteer?
willing to Chaperone it all?
this is the kind of a thing where you often deal with utterly incompetent property owners. Is that a fair thing to say? Who know nothing about it?
it's very turnkey on our side. We handle,
You don't want us to screw it up for you.
yeah, we handle putting it all together. We've done several of these with Newport Partners, and so, they're aware. We visit city council meetings all the time, so, we're very apt at fielding questions there too. And putting presentations, if you want us to put a presentation together, we always do that, you know, if it takes rendering.
We would certainly want to have an event at the library to unveil the thing.
Oh,
with a- you know, a
definitely.
party, yes.
We do like solar barbecues, and so we host those. We host those, they are
You know
great
someone might
events.
be able to help out, otherwise Steve, you'd be willing to chaperone? if need
I
be,
think the
keep
minutes need to also note that the library board would be very interested in applying for and receiving grants to cover the expense, and that we are completely aware that we have to get approval from the city of Lake Elmo.
Yeah, so we're directing our library director to follow up on grant application prospects.
After the lottery,
And-
after the approvals.
Well, maybe not, he can start the
Well, it doesn't
application
matter.
So
process.
why wait? No, you're not gonna waste his time, if you're not gonna win the lottery.
Let him decide.
Question for you.
It's gonna have to happen
So,
really fast.
we put in this application, we'll have a couple documents that we need to get from you guys. I imagine Nathan would be the contact for that. And then we need someone that needs to, e-sign for the application. And again, would that be Nathan?
Delegate to Nathan or me, whichever.
Probably Brett.
We're talking about the
Well,
application
what's
for the
your
rebate?
preference?
For the rebate,
We
yeah.
can- We can
I
vote
think
to,
Brett would be
We
the
could
person.
vote to authorize him to do it or have Brett.
I
I
think
think
it's
it's
better
Brett.
than Brett.
I think he's got enough to do.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so that's understood. Does that be part of the motion, or I guess the board would
Yeah.
authorize me to sign the
Can we make
application?
that as part of the friendly amendment to that motion?
noted in the minutes is,
Okay.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Okay.
I'm
Thanks for your time. It's
I'm kind
very
of
interesting.
pleased.
Brett, do you have a card on you? Well, then I can get you
your email.
Yeah, take a quick stretch break.
Thank you, that was
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
How are you holding?
knowledgeable.
I enjoyed it.
That's right, I get in there with us.
Your first meeting, it looks like you're doing. You better tell your boss.
We're gonna
Do you
find
have
out
solar
what
out there?
this is all about.
We don't have solar.
Very well.
Thank you. Thank you
I don't think there's any
for,
solar on the roof that I know
Yeah.
of.
Better have a chat
We're a
with
certified building, you know, like we've got
Lead.
standard on the.
Lead certified.
But, you know, I mean, we've literally only been out there, it's really
Yeah,
a
no,
Cargill's
like,
building, it's not like,
Emails
you know
on
what I
there
mean,
for a
it's
few
the
years.
water lab and
Oh,
Cargill
I did,
uses it, so.
general contract.
Okay. Is it next to the old mansion?
No, I don't think so, 'cause I don't-
Yeah,
It's at the corner basically of Shadywood and 15, you know.
Emails on there if you.
Sounds,
You know
well,
my-
there's the main new complex, new meaning 30 years old. And then where the executives are is the castle. It was built by the guy who built
Okay.
the Fauché Tower and then went bankrupt the year after in Cargill.
Is it really?
Bought,
Yeah.
Oh my
bought the
God.
castle on a lake, and that's where their headquarters is. Nixon was their
I don't know
lawyer.
where that is.
I'll have to give him a
Nixon was their lawyer before he became president. He went out there one time, I know.
We're fairly close to Lord Fletcher's,
Yeah, oh, on the other side.
It's been,
less than, you know, like, there,
3 years
Lord
now?
Fletcher's is on Shadywood.
Probably, yeah.
Isn't that
I
on,
think it,
isn't Lord Fletcher's in Orono?
That's where I'm in Orno.
Okay.
Oh, so you gotta go through
So it's
Wayzata.
some maker then?
I didn't know,
No, it's a
no,
different
that's definitely
one.
not anything I knew of Cargill. I thought they only owned stuff on the east side.
People popping
They
up
just
out
lease
there.
from us, so it's probably not very well.
Well, you got a great place to go to lunch every day.
History of solar.
We went there for the first time last week.
One of the
so-
other solar.
Nice.
Oh,
Are
you close to that? You know, it's like,
No, sorry.
but it's I think I might have been there one time when I was like 21.
Where do you wanna go, to McDonald's or Lord Fletcher's?
I had to grab the.
So-
Oh, I do have some. No, that's not mine.
Give me
It's
some.
pretty close to Lafayette Club, isn't
Alright,
it?
Yes.
Nathan's will be in touch.
Very
Yeah, I'll get you.
I have
I'll.
somebody I
shoot
went
you again.
to college with at the
Very
U.
nice meeting you.
Yeah, very nice to meet you.
He, his
Thanks for
father
your
had a
time.
house
Yeah.
in
Patience
Crystal.
and answering a
And
lot
I
of
went out
questions.
there when they had the moonshot, cause he had a nice color
Yeah, I
TV
drive
back
right
then.
the
Intriguing, but
Lafayette
very
Club
new
every
things.
day
I'm
before
sure
we
we'll-
leave the office.
Definitely.
Sounds cool, but all the details.
Thank you,
It's very nice meeting
very
you.
informative.
I'm looking forward to talking about putting some on the barn too. Right.
Okay.
I drive
sounds
by
good.
that guy and that's facing south
Hey,
and,
stop in at City Hall and stop in at the Public Works and talk to them.
yeah.
Just stop there.
Oh, our city hall barn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just gotta go on the barn.
Oh.
Sure.
Nice, yeah.
Stop and talk to
Visible,
them.
you can see it.
Very good. Thanks
Yeah,
guys. I
thank you.
appreciate it.
Because Nate will find the funding for both at the same time.
It sounds like it. That'd be great.
Thanks for
Take care,
that.
guys.
Everyone was wondering what I was gonna do this weekend.
I knew there was a reason we had that south-facing wall there.
Yeah.
That would be perfect. No trees. It's way too tall.
Perfect spot.
I'm once again enjoying all of, I'm some of Julian's hearts with sayings all around the library. Will you mention it to her that
I will.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
loving them?
Yeah.
I can't walk anywhere except to stop and read,
Does sound fun.
read my little love note.
I was here this morning, I know, I saw a few.
Who came up with the words?
Julian, I think. I might get a key in a couple years.
Oh, I bet.
This is how little I know,
Who comes
you
up with
guys
the words
know.
on those hearts?
So I didn't know
What?
this person,
Who comes up
right?
with the
And
words on the
I
hearts?
didn't know
That's
who's on the
Julie.
board or not. Right, so I don't know everybody on the board,
Sure.
I'm meeting you all.
Oh, sure.
And Julene is kind of a name that could maybe be a
Oh.
man.
Oh.
There's Julene Swenson.
He doesn't look Scandinavian. That was pretty mean of us.
I mean, he kind of gave me a look when I handed him the voucher list. Well, you know, he's interested, so
Someone put the name tag there.
there we go.
Julia. That's who you're
Julia,
thinking
right.
of.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Julia.
that kind of a name, you know, Julian. That's
Julian's
okay.
a man's name.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I
Julian.
kind of love that is a different spelling, you know, Julian is
So you start with only
Julian.
one missing, now we're two missing. So.
Please do not tell Julian. No, no. The secret is safe with all of us, including your camera.
Oh, no, here I am thinking.
We won't tell.
It's not a.
It took us so long to get through the first part, and I looked up there, Only 10 minutes, we're doing okay, I guess.
I sat here for the longest time looking at that, thinking this is the slowest night that has ever existed. It's still 6:15. Time is going so slowly, I can't believe it.
Okay,
I'll
I've
do
got
my
some-
best to move us along a little quicker pace, and we'll see if, see if other things. we have to
Anybody
do.
need gum to stay awake?
I'm good.
I think I will dive into the next one, and folks can kind of dribble back in as we go. So unfinished business, we had the JPA / contract with Washington County. So we now have, so a little background on this, it's actually now the county had talked to their attorney early on, then later checked back in and said they actually changed their mind and decided it really should be a contract. They see it as more of a service agreement with the city, the city library system, not a JPA. And they, and just to clarify, this is just for the cards, because we kind of sometimes get straying off on a lot of other issues. This is basically just so that we can have a more streamlined process for issuing cards.
Where residents don't have to
Don't have
fork
to
up the money.
Pay up front, come back and reimburse, so this will be just much more streamlined. When they go to Washington County, they will get issued a card. It's still considered an out-of-system card, so it has all the other strings, that it's no e-borrowing and stuff like that. But they would get it, and they would get it right there on the spot, and then they will just bill once a month the city as our fiscal agent. That's why the city is still listed on the most updated version. So this is again kind of a last minute one. We don't have to, we could have a special meeting, but the county did. We had met finally with city officials. Julie was there, and Sarah and I were there, and Nate was there, and the county administrator, and the county commissioner, and several library people.
I'd like to move approval.
That would be nice, because I
For
think it's all.
whatever
That's a
reason,
motion.
I had a work in progress with blue stripes.
Yeah,
next to
because
it.
it is still a
wanted to
work
show
in
us
progress,
that.
we're still drafting and moving it around.
Well, I mean, I think it's in good shape, but they wanted to show us kind of what had been changed along the way as we went through joint
But-
powers
but-
for the contract.
But for those of us who don't have Microsoft Word on our computers, like me, like I said to Margot, I got $20,000 of Microsoft stock, but I won't pay $100 to my own company for the damn program. So I only got the final version. I thought it was fine.
I think it actually was slightly better than I expected, because before they were kind of hinting that, well, it's hard for them to check if multiple people from the same address come in, and we just have to deal with that.
And
But
they're
they've actually
charging us
said,
$3 a piece. We pay $2 now. That won't happen anymore.
okay. So basically, yeah, that's true. But basically, they now will apparently be checking as they issue these cards, so they'll be, so if a second person does come up, they will say, that's great, but here's your slip of paper that describes it, which we said we'd work on something, some language on that, and then they will charge them, and they'll tell them, well, you're the second from your household, you'll have to pay the $60.
They are gonna do that.
You're gonna do that for us, so that's.
Additionally, I heard from Molly today that they had spoken with Stillwater, and, this agreement we would not have to enter into a separate agreement with
We're
Stillwater.
gonna try to
or
roll it in.
Bay
Oh,
Shore.
that'd be
This is
wonderful.
just-
Agreement with
Yeah,
the
so this could save us a lot of,
The Stillwater is technically a separate library, anybody goes and pays there, that money will stay with Stillwater, so.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty big,
it's
Yeah.
this is into-
And the,
if someone goes into Stillwater to get their card, which I mean, several of our folks will, the county's not gonna get any money for that, and they're
the
willing.
county won't?
And they're
Oh.
willing to be
It's a
okay with
separate
that,
standalone
so.
So we tell them all to go to Stillwater?
Can I
I
just,
think that's been the
Wait,
case
wait,
all
wait,
along.
wait.
And Stillwater gets
Can I-
paid for the card?
yes, that has been all in. We have a motion by Steve, and I'm kind of letting things get out of hand here. Do we
Yes,
have a
you
second for the motion? Thank you. Do we have a second for the motion, and then we can get back to discussion? Second, okay, now,
Okay,
Motion on the
explain that thing about Stillwater
this is what
Library
they
to me.
told us a
please.
while back, is since it is an independent library that has affiliation status, that if someone goes to Stillwater and gets their card there,
Or
they
Bayport.
consider it sort of it's more likely their home library where they'll do more volume. And so Stillwater has said, yeah, if they come and get a card from us, we're gonna keep the $60 there. And that's the way they've been handling it with, like, if somebody from St. Croix comes over,
But the
St. Croix
county's
County,
gonna give
comes
us
over-
one bill. They're gonna send some of it
Right.
to Stillwater.
so still,
Oh,
correct.
Stillwater will be
send-
reimbursed.
Yes.
Okay,
Stillwater
gotcha.
will send those over to the Washington County, Washington County will then send them all to us, we'll pay them, and then Stillwater will get their portion, the cards there, and Washington
Okay.
County gets their portion.
And we didn't
That's what
ask,
we found out.
and the same is gonna be the truth, Molly assumed that Bayport would follow whatever Stillwater did, Bayport wouldn't care too much one way or the other.
And we haven't, Bayport probably hasn't issued a card for
Something
Lake
like
Elmo
that.
in its history.
Two or
Probably-
three
probably
cards in the last
not-
year,
not a
couple
big
years, so,
problem.
and things are really worth staying going up. So yeah, I think it's pretty much what we were looking for, and even a little better than what we thought as far as what else to have. We
Yeah.
come up with, and you said you could help us come up with a little slip of language that we could then hand out so that people know kind of our family card policy.
I'd like to have something to,
No,
at our
put it in
library, to encourage people to, like us on Facebook, so that they get the news feed coming from our
That's a good idea. That wouldn't
Facebook
take much.
page, and have a bigger following of people, especially the ones who are using children's programs and other programs, because if something's delayed or something's new and exciting, that can be added there.
We should just get accustomed to putting that little tagline on all of our,
Mhm.
all of
So
our
we would
reads.
have the little slip of paper when they pick up their
Actually,
card. and
Margot, are
understand
you-
that-
Facile on Facebook?
I call for a vote.
Yeah, I was just saying, I feel like we're straying off.
I tend to go.
So if there's no more discussion,
weeks at a
all those in
time,
favor say aye.
Aye.
And thanks to
Opposed?
everybody who is no opposition.
Can I just ask, though, when, it says in here, about the date, and so what do we anticipate to be the date?
I think we'll put in as soon as they approve it.
So we're-
Both boards have to approve it, so we'll get back to them and tell them we've approved it, and then once they,
So does this have to go to our city council?
No, it's got nothing to do with it, it's the
Well,
library.
No, it does, and
Oh,
the
Our city
fact-
council is at this meeting.
fiscal agent there still.
I know, but I'm saying the city council needs
I don't know
to
that they.
read.
We felt, at the meeting, and all, like, the administrator was there, and that this was a contract between the library board and Washington County, so.
Legally, it has to be.
I
So
think you're
do
fine.
we
I
have
don't-
to do anything about Kathy Bendel and her reimbursement? That's my concern for going
No,
through the city
she's gonna
council.
get a bill, and
I
she's
mean,
just gonna
because
get
She
a
it
bill.
gets a
doesn't
bill
matter.
once a month and she pays it
I
hopefully.
mean, we're
easier,
gonna
yeah.
wanna let them know, because they're gonna be receiving some bill in the mail, and it's gonna look different than something
Right.
they've seen before, so there needs to be communication.
But they're not gonna get
Other than
600
that,
bills a year.
So I don't know who's
I
responsible.
will let Dean
Yeah.
and Kathy know
Yeah.
first thing.
And
maybe
Dean was
tonight.
there, too.
Now they
so-
get 600 bills a year, it'll go down to 12.
Yeah, it's big, right?
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that we get that communication correct.
Okay, that's good.
So we need to probably run this by some legal, either our lawyer or the city's lawyer, because they did take out that liability part at the end. Um,
I think it's okay.
I think it's
But
okay
it
too,
felt
yeah,
fine
'cause
with me.
First I was.
The explanation was given as to why they, it went through our legal once, I think, and it
It
felt
did.
fine to me.
And
that
that was
it didn't-
language, the language that was recently stricken was language our legal put in.
And they described to us why,
Okay.
that it needed to be,
The service agreement, it's really pretty much
Mhm.
services going one way,
Mhm.
there's not.
and that they would
Much
never
coming back the other
agree
way.
to that, seeing as it was a service
Alright.
agreement. It made complete sense to everybody in the room.
Except me, because I was a little befuddled.
Sorry.
So if you guys are good with it, you put in the notes that Sarah's taking these two's word for it.
Okay, and
So-
so does the library board want to suggest a start date for this?
March 1st if
ASAP.
possible. Yeah, I'd say March
Okay,
1st or as
yeah.
soon as
The
possible.
sooner it gets into fresh, the better off we are.
Well, the thing is once it gets into fresh though, there's something that we wanna say, is that even though they're doing the library cards this way, it does not include the ebooks, and so we want to say in big letters, our library has electronic books, and that you can access your electronic books through, you know, the. like,
Electronic resources, all of them.
Like us on Facebook.
Electronic resources.
Well, I have a
And
suggestion, I
that's
don't know what you normally do, but I don't know that they would have any objection to this. I think it would be fine if you wanted to write the article and submit it to Alyssa's to be sure that it said what you wanted it to say.
Yeah, I will.
So, you know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure that that's okay.
We do that.
We've done that.
It would be nice if you required that they have a Lake Elmo library card along with their Washington County
Wouldn't it
one,
be
but I
nice?
don't know if that's a possibility.
But we will be getting their names and addresses, so if we need to reach out and touch somebody, we would be able to do that from the names and addresses.
Yeah, we'll do, because we'll do a press and still artists
So-
everywhere else.
Keep things moving. Intern hiring, I think you've communicated a little bit with the university and they would be hopeful for
We have
summer.
we
to
have a
have
very
some
good chance for
candidates.
summer, yeah.
Given that we are a little bit to the east and that's when the people have a little more time in their schedules, better chances for intern.
From
the
where?
University,
St.
St.
Kate's.
Kate's.
Oh,
that has
St.
a
Kate's,
library
okay,
program.
that's what I thought. You
So
said
what are we saying?
university and,
We're saying summer?
Oh, yeah, I
Summer.
thought you meant the University of
Back.
Minnesota.
yeah, I
Sorry,
thought the
St.
University of
Kate's,
Minnesota, I
sorry.
thought, huh? Okay.
The back rent update, that may take a little bit. or
That was
we-
Judy's, I got nothing,
You've
except what
got
she
a-
sent in.
We got a proposal
Oh.
of collections agency is what we decided last time.
Oh, I lied, I
Take
do
a
have
look at,
something.
and
I,
that Judy did find someone that said they would give us something and it's in our packet. And
Yeah.
we are
25%.
40% in our
Oh,
case.
40, oh.
What?
Is what they would take.
40?
Is that right? Did I catch that right or not?
oh, I saw 25%.
They have two
At the end, I
versions.
saw a commercial to 25, but they may have said in our case, it's the I missed that.
$25% of all amounts realized, this includes the return of merchandise, products, equipment, blah, blah, or
Oh.
30% of all amounts realized
On
which count
this
is
issue.
No, I'm okay.
is posted 1 year after the date of
Abstain.
debt incurred and date of late last payment charge, closed without a debt.
Those are
incurred.
ors, so we, yeah,
I think one of those, we triggered some of those, so that was my
Yeah.
recollection, was it was, they would, in this case, it would probably be a 40% based on their.
40% of 40,000 I can take,
yeah, but,
or
so,
60%.
here's the thing, some of you may not know this, my husband's a collections attorney, that's what he does for a living, and he usually does different, not this kind of debt. He does consumer debt collection, like if you don't pay your credit card, so lots of small items. And I said, this is what the board's gonna talk about tonight, are there reasons that we should not consider a collections agency? And he said, well, what are they going to do that you haven't already done? You've already asked for the money, they can't file suit, all they can do is send nasty grams. And so their power is gonna be a little limited. I kind of felt last month that we really didn't give our attorney a chance to do anything, cause she had just finally gotten past the road blocking attorney that the tenant had hired, and just finally got permission to contact our former tenant directly, and I felt like, well, gosh, it's been a year and a half, and now she could finally do something, and we decided to take it away. So I felt a little frustrated about that, and I think my personal feeling is, rather than risk 40% of whatever we might collect, I'd rather pay another $500 to the attorney to file a suit. We don't need to finish the suit, but we need to, if we file it, then we can find out if there's any money that's collectible, which would be useful if we would decide to go with a collections agency. Or we can find out if it's just, at that point, good money after bad. So those are my two bits. One is that the collections agency can't file a suit, and two is, my preference would be to continue with the attorney. Now that we can work directly with the tenant, I think we'd be
I
able to
could
move a
say, I
little
mean,
faster.
if it's a limited amount of money and it has a finite time limit that's not very long, I wouldn't mind kind of seeing that through, but I just feel like it's taken a long time to get here, so I'm kind of ready
It
to
sure
move on to the
has.
next
Yeah,
step.
yeah, well, but most of that was, she had to follow the due process to wait to hear from the other guy, the attorney. And,
Yeah, I
and,
think
and,
that's
and
just
every time she
part
got
of what
something, it was
we're-
another month before we got.
That's to say, yeah, I think we
But
should
what
know
is
we're in
it,
sort
what's
of
a lawyer gonna, what is a lawyer gonna do?
She can file a suit,
Yeah.
which, number one, may scare them into paying. Number two, if we file a suit and proceed to, well, for $500, she would file a suit, and that would be it. If we were gonna go on with discovery and go on to trial, there would be additional costs.
I move that we authorize that Sarah to work with our city attorney to file a suit at a cost of about $500 to try and reclaim our lost rent and fees, late fees. The late fees are 30,000.
Is there a
The
second?
rest's 10.
I,
Is there a
Am I allowed
second?
to second that one? I mean, that's what, I
Yes.
second that
So the
one. I
forty
think that's-
percent gets you the full back rent without the late fee?
Sorry, what was your question?
Does the 40% number that I heard get you your full back rent, just doesn't get you your late fees?
It's-
Well, it's 40% of whatever's collected.
We give them sort of.
They get
here's the-
40, we get
here's the
60.
I don't
top.
know which, I'm
So
sorry,
like
I'm
here's,
be
so
quiet.
there's like a base amount of rent that we were owed, which is.
$8,000 or $9,000.
8 or 9,000, then all these fees have been piling up to some astronomical number.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go and try to scare him with the astronomical number, and then whatever number he can actually get is what he's saying I'll get, and then I keep 40%, you guys get the other.
I see.
Right.
So
I
that's
always-
gonna be the astronomical number, but.
Another,
it's-
yeah, another point, the collections agent was under the impression that we would not be able to collect the back fees, and I believe he's mistaken, because our lease states that we'd be collecting
Absolutely.
fees, so.
So why you say
He
you
says,
wouldn't give-
he says collection fees are not allowable to be added to debt in Minnesota, but in fact, we have a written contract that says that, reasonable attorney's fees or collection costs would be included. So he's mistaken, he just didn't ask the right question.
It's okay, I see what you mean. So the motion was to proceed with the attorney. I guess I'd like to see sort of a second piece of that, which is, and if we don't have.
That's part of the motion.
Resolution.
You didn't listen carefully.
Okay, sorry, did I? What was that part? What was the part
Paul's got
about
it
when
down
do we,
now.
when do we go to the collections? By March 31st, if we haven't had any resolution, then we would move ahead with our
I'm
collections.
sure he said that.
I don't think, I
Can
don't know
the
if March,
seconder be,
I seconded, I don't know if March 31st is the right, I mean, these things,
No.
I don't know what the expected timeline is, I don't know
Well,
if it's
we'll
reasonable.
visit
Tell her it's March
the
31st and it'll get done.
Pardon me?
We'll revisit it in March and know more by then.
yeah, I'd kinda like to
no,
impose
I
a
think
timeline if it's not
I would
time,
vote
then
against the
we-
motion unless there's a deadline. We've been screwing around with this, and I don't even know if we wanna spend $500.
Yeah, well, that's the
I think
question,
how much
really.
money have we already spent, good money after bad money? We have not gotten one penny.
True.
And the thing is we've been after this for over a year. As far as I'm concerned, I like the guy who's gonna call him up and really scare him. The heck with the I don't know what they say
But
with
so
it.
here's the
But
question.
they scared those people in hospitals and they got money out of those people in hospitals.
Right.
So I don't care, they got their money.
So here's the question, which is gonna be scarier, the collections agent or the lawsuit?
The
That's what I don't
collections
know.
agency. I worked with this girl once and she told me, I didn't know this, she told me that somebody came and collected her car because she didn't pay for it.
That's a
And it
repo,
went,
that's different from.
well, I don't know, but it went down the street and I thought, oh my God. And I didn't know what would happen for whatever when you don't pay and things. So as far as I'm concerned, those collection people are mean and nasty and they'll get your money.
No, that's bad.
Mean and nasty, but I'm not sure
Effective.
they'll get the money.
I think they do, I think they get more money than anybody, they're naughty.
They are naughty, that's the problem,
They are.
is, and that, you know, coming from the attorney's point of view, I
So-
have this.
Well, let's
Well,
pick a
here's
date, let's just pick a date and vote.
That's what
March
March
31st.
31st.
I'll just call the lawyer and say, here's your date, you got $500 and we're not going any further unless you have some action by then. And
Yep, March
It's not my
31st.
Okay
problem.
with that, March
Yeah,
31st then?
whatever.
That's 6 weeks.
Doesn't,
And then after
I've been
that,
screwing
then-
around with it for plenty long enough too.
And
Any
then
more
you get to be
discussion?
done. Okay, the date is March 31st, they got 6 weeks.
And then move on to this.
And if they're going to Europe for 2 weeks, it's tough luck. We still have
All
March
those in
31st.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining?
I'll abstain, I just don't know the background.
Sure.
You don't want to know that, you don't want to know the background.
Yeah, I don't think I do, so.
State librarian, any updates on state librarian?
Oh, state librarian, I'm in email correspondence, I've asked her, I said 2 or 3 of us would like to come and sit down and chat with you, give me some dates to pick from, we'll get our questions together and send them ahead of time, and so I'm waiting to hear, and I know you're interested and you're interested, and, you know, I think we can take a total of 3 without getting into an open meeting problem, so that's coming.
Cool, sounds good. And we took, E goes down to the bottom, we added director's review, 6-month review. What do you wanna say, start to schedule it?
Yeah, you guys schedule.
When-
Well, the personnel committee will be taking that up at their meeting next week.
Okay,
Good enough for me.
But the board does it.
but scheduling, you mean, just
Right.
getting it on the calendar, getting it all organized?
Can't we just schedule
Well,
it right now?
and for that, I believe we said before, and we'll say again, if you have questions or things to say about the review, please start getting them to the personnel committee now so that we can give you something at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think there was feedback on the forum, but I mean, it went around the board once, and then
Yeah.
after we all filled it out, then there was feedback we could do better, so I think.
So, I mean, are you gonna send
Getting
out the
into
same
it
form
now.
again?
We're gonna send out something, I'm not even sure what it is. But what I'm saying is, if you've got ideas, let us know.
Okay, so when you, okay,
If you have concerns, let us know.
Come back with some, follow up with trying to get.
Yeah,
some
I know
sort of
Judy's-
format and
Judy's,
form and work it
Judy's
out.
been working on this, and I'm
Timeline.
sorry she's not here to defend herself, but, yeah.
So, there'll be a timeline, or unless you wanna try to set it.
There'll be a time.
Do you know, maybe you could email out the minutes of the personnel committee after you meet, after you've got an idea of what your timeline
Yeah.
is that's allowable open meeting?
do you have to, but by law, should we do it within a certain amount, I mean, what's the deal with the 6 months business? Do you have to do it at a certain
There's
time?
It's a
No.
courtesy,
Okay, you don't have to,
no, we don't have to review them at all, we don't have to give them a raise.
If we were
It's a
gonna, if
limit,
we were
we'll do
going to
anything.
fire him, we had to do it in the first 90 days. On the 89th day, he became much harder to fire.
how come?
That's law,
Really?
yeah. Yeah, it really
Probationary
is.
status ended.
Probationary status,
Really?
Well,
yeah.
you know,
But he made,
Can we
so,
call them probie
We're
when
stuck
they're
with it.
in the service, and call people probie?
Okay, covered that?
and I'm glad.
Let's
Thanks.
see, next is new business, road to affiliate status. So I guess, I don't know, Nate, do you wanna tackle that one? There was talk at this meeting that there is some, Julie's been involved a little bit too in trying to,
Yeah, I probably pushed for an agenda item to just kind of, and I think it's really associate library.
yes,
status.
associate, yes.
And I can give you some background. So, 2 new council members were assigned to be the library, I don't know, liaison, there you go, for this year, which is myself and Councilmember Smith. And, we had a meeting with Commissioner Gary Kriesel, and for the second half of the meeting, Molly O'Rourke joined us as well. And I approached this meeting as one of, many opportunities for me to just try to ask as many questions as I possibly could, not knowing anything. And, and I'm not afraid to ask questions, so, just saying, you know what I mean, because, I can tell you where I'm coming from, just coming off of a campaign in which I talked to a lot of people in the community and learned a lot about, what people aren't, the problems people are experiencing with us not being in the county system and those kind of things, no surprise, you know what I mean? And so, again, trying to take in all that feedback from residents, trying to educate myself, then wanting to come to the board meeting now and say, help educate me on the board's take on all this, and just trying to bring it into play that way. But talking through issues and things with Commissioner Creasel and Molly O'Rourke, and saying, well, what if the library did this? What if the library did this? Well, how would that be received? Just trying to get a feel from that side of the table of things. This associate library idea was one that really seemed to kind of rise to the top of the possibilities. Again, I just want you, without talking to the board, so I just want you to understand, I'm not out there doing things without, this is just why I'm bringing this as this particular idea to you to say, it seemed like there was lots of positive things about this route and wanting to bounce that off of this board and say, what are your thoughts? Has this been considered before? I apologize if you've been through this once and you hate the idea and, but I guess I would ask for you
New
to
blood
just,
and good and new questions.
just to
Either
say
repeat questions
that,
is
you know what I
good.
mean, and that kind of thing, because, there's new people involved now, so, hopefully, we could agree on like common goals maybe too, as part of this process of saying, what are some common goals that everybody can agree on, that we wanna work towards, and then what are the, things that we just absolutely don't wanna give up or give up control over, or what's the appropriate way to capture that, absolutely, this is something, no matter what we did, like this board feels really strongly we wouldn't wanna, give on, and these are the things that, cause I think no matter what we do, in the end, there's probably gonna end up being some, compromise,
Yeah.
But it's helping me and educate me on, what are those possible compromises, and what are those things that, we've got our, we're putting our foot down on this, and you're entitled to, so maybe we could just kinda start out by, helping me understand what's been discussed before, and, what sort of things, are of the utmost importance to this board, because I think that'll help me be a better board member and a better liaison, so, if we can just have a conversation kind of based on that, and then we could maybe, talk more specifically about associate library and pros and cons that the board sees in that, and, cause my goal is to keep this moving. I feel like I made promises out there that I would, be an advocate for, helping to solve some of these issues that residents have, and, wanna keep that promise, so.
What was the general feeling you got towards the library when you were door knocking?
Very good question, and I asked that specifically, and I was surprised. I thought it was going to be described to me like there's really bad feelings, we got, I don't get that feeling at all. I get the feeling like, they're very willing to work with us.
Do you mean
That's-
from Washington County or the citizenry?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
The people that live in Lake Elmo.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the county, so I'm sorry, that's how I was answering.
Yeah, but we asked that question.
Now
too.
on the
Yeah.
other side of
Yeah, we
things.
got both sides to ask, yeah.
The residents who don't live really close to downtown, and we've got a big geographical area in Lake Elmo, it's one of our issues, are not happy.
Okay,
Because
so,
the services that they can get here aren't convenient for them.
so if they're in Tri-Lakes, they don't wanna come down here.
Yep.
And
Tri Lakes, yep, is one area that, they
Cimarron-
go to, they used to go to the other county libraries and,
Because the Tri-Lakes people, they wanna go to either, North St.
Willing.
Paul, Maplewood, or,
That's shut down.
well, no, in Maplewood, by, Maplewood Mall. There's a big library over there.
Oh,
But the thing is that's what I'm saying, they will go
Oh, yeah.
north or that would be west. The ones that are downtown like the library, Cimarron likes the library. What about, the ones that are, what is, Peterson's
Well,
development, the
and
ones.
it's just human
yeah.
nature. I only heard from the people who aren't happy. I
Yeah,
don't knock on the door and somebody's like, and by the way, I'm super happy with the library. So I'm just saying, and I understand
but that's what
that,
we're
you know,
assuming, but
so-
see, we're assuming the same thing.
So like
Is-
how many people, percentage-wise, that you talked to voiced concerns?
Well, it was,
We hear from,
yep,
we
it
just
was
don't get
big
quantified
enough to me to rise to one of the top, 3 or 4 issues facing Lake Elmo residents. Obviously, growth is
Mhm.
by far was the big, you know what I mean? Debt, the lake issues are big for
Oh, yeah,
people, and
yeah.
depending on if it's in your
Water.
backyard or not. And the library,
The library's
believe it or
for
not.
24%.
that's very
Okay.
helpful, because we've been getting feedback from city council members that they, now you are getting a lot of pushback from the residents, but we're not getting any kind of quantitative information, and we're not given an opportunity, and we can't now, you've gotten a complaint, a year ago on the campaign trail, we can't answer that complaint.
Yeah.
Were they unhappy about not being associated with Washington County, or were they not happy with, having to have the cards reimbursed?
The reimbursement to me just seemed like, a hassle factor, but the really big thing was not being in the county system.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
okay, I
that's-
have to get my card
And
reimbursed,
that's
but.
that's why one of our formal goals, tell me if I'm wrong, is to become an affiliate of Washington County Library. That's something that's on our work list for long-term.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that the board's feeling would be, if we can get back in the county system, and I want you to forget about financial for a minute, I know, you know what I mean, and it works
Yes.
financially, so just assume it works financially, when we
Right.
drill down on that budget, you go, we don't have to pay for this anymore and this anymore, but we do have to pay for this, and everything works, and that you can retain control of your library and your hours
Mhm.
and your staff,
Mhm.
that's a common goal. I
think-
mean, is that,
I think you need to define,
okay?
your starting premise,
Yeah.
if we can get back with the county. It's pretty loose language and it makes me nervous.
All right.
Well, but the
But
real
most of
word
that
is-
sounded like
but
yes.
she- But she said the word, and that is what we've been saying all along, is we would like to be an associate of Washington County, like Stillwater or Bayport.
Yeah.
If we're like that, we're happy campers.
Okay. Well,
Am I
yeah.
speaking for everyone?
Because that's what we lost when the county left.
Mhm.
We gained this building after they left, but we didn't get back the affiliation. We want that back.
And so instead of being part of the Washington County system, which we would be, but we want to be like Bayport or Stillwater.
You wanna be in with Melsa, the second,
Yeah,
which
you
are,
got it.
yes.
And so we want to be an associate.
And there's financial benefits for getting into Melsa, like, we all pay a lot of money to state taxes. We're not allowed to get any of it back because we aren't associated with Washington County or Melsa.
But the other thing too is you're not paying,
We could go to court and probably win, but it would be a very expensive lawsuit.
but we also aren't paying the interlibrary loans.
No,
So there's,
and that's why Julie very carefully said, taking away the money. Because we could easily lose a lot of money on
Yeah,
interlibrary
so,
loans.
I mean, to me, those are two different things. I wanted to get to the, do we have common goals here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get that financial could make or break it, you know what I mean? But-
I think the finances are gonna work out.
But I do
Because
too,
we're paying
you know,
$20,000 a year to reimburse library cards, and if we became part, then we would,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
expense, there's a, huge amount there.
E-services.
And we can block books from the interlibrary loan list
So,
also.
I don't, not according to this, I
Yes,
read
we
this.
can.
Gonna go into
Can you
this
really?
thing? The
Yes.
white paper, the Nelsa agreement?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yes.
liked it.
We should go through it fairly closely, I think, but we don't necessarily need to do it tonight.
No.
I have some
Yeah.
concerns about this document and what it would do to the flavor of our library. And I wanna make sure we retain our specialness,
So if we all read it separately in more detail.
Well, we
who
did that
should-
before the meeting, didn't we?
We could,
I mean,
to hear
somebody could-
some of the things that are concerning to you. That's kind of where I was going with my,
Why don't people
Initial-
just nail them to Julie?
I
or
think
to
it'd be
Brett?
good, because I'd like to hear what other people have to
We'd be
say.
half done by now.
So the other nice interesting thing was bubbling up is this idea that, I think maybe not just Lake Elmo, but in general, Melsa's starting to kind of say, well, yeah, what do we need to kind of do a better job with this associate library and
Right.
setting out some ground rules of how that works. So that actually has been
Yep.
moving along parallel to this. So that's kind of
Yeah,
been a good
and-
convergence, I think.
Frankly,
Washington County is kind of saying, look, this is what's being floated around, so this might
They
very
did
well
this,
help us, give us a framework to.
and they gave it to us, without us doing any significant pushing during the year, this Melissa and Washington County did this fall. So,
That's kinda cool, I think, something that I'd really like to see their strategic plan run out through the end of the year, just to kinda see how on board they are with this, but I think they're definitely saying, at least now there's a framework, we know how we could, deal with you guys as an associate.
well, and we did
and
ask them,
it's a good thing.
specifically if we went the associate library route and we didn't wanna wait for 10 months, you know what I mean, to start that and say we get it done in 3 months or something, you know what I mean, does that hurt us with the, if the results of the strategic plan come out, you know what I mean, should we wait? And we did kinda get consensus from them, I think we asked it at the end, that they didn't feel there was a reason that we needed to wait. That it wouldn't preclude us from, anything as far as the results of that plan went, cause I asked that specifically, learning about the strategic plan. Oh, should we just wait till that comes out? And
Yeah, we could kind of drive the bus on it. a
they
little bit more.
didn't,
Push back to-
they didn't push to say we needed to wait.
yeah, this sounds like this really came from Melsa's, and Washington County certainly is very active in Melsa and had a say in its drafting, I'm sure, but, this document comes from Elsa and says, here are the rules to being an associate library. So the Washington County strategic plan is going to be a little less relevant to this process.
What was your feeling about, when you chatted and said that I think that the library would like to become an associate? What was your feeling that they would do? How did they respond? Did you say that? Did you bring that up? Or
No,
what?
it was more going through all the options, you know what I mean, and hearing, okay, data practices was a big topic, you would have to do this, you would have to do this, and it felt to me like the only option, so there's a lot of options, I can go through all the different, brainstorming ideas that were floated about, but it seemed like this associate library status was the only one that really got us back into Melsa. So that was why.
Right, no question.
I would ask all this, oh, well, you could have, you could control your library and, as long as you have paid staff, doing the, circulation
Oh,
steps, you know
so
what I
then
mean?
that would-
That's a big deal, no matter what you
Well,
do.
that is gonna be
you
a
know.
killer for me, because our volunteers do our work, whereas if you take, where Nate from,
Well-
Osceola, town of 2,500 people, has
Smaller budget than ours.
2 full-time librarians and 7 part-time paid librarians.
Well, you wouldn't ever have to.
That would be a
so I'm
very,
trying to throw
very-
financial
So
out the door.
so you're
Cause
saying-
the only thing that's a stumbling block for you there is.
Our
paying.
volunteers love being at the desk and
No,
helping
having
people.
the volunteers is an important part of our culture, and I
But
think
what
that's
you're,
going to be a
is
stumbling
what
block.
you're talking
But I
about,
think
we
there's
can't
ways
have
around it.
volunteers, or you're just saying it's that privacy part that we have to figure out?
Just the privacy,
We
part.
could
You
just
can
go to
still have
self-
volunteers.
We could go to self-check.
Or aren't there ways
There
to,
are ways to,
just to close out the private parts, we can just shut down Koha a little more?
We would be transitioning away from Koha. through-
Well, so it wouldn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So then, if we would use a different
there'd be still a
cataloging,
way to have volunteers there at the front desk helping people, but also be maybe a self-checkout that allows that, so there's kind of
That's
that
a really good
privacy
idea.
barrier.
Yeah, we just
that
switch
the
over to
county is very
self-check.
nervous
It's
about.
really, and then you can
Nice
assist
little
people in
stuff.
using self-check.
Might be a good workaround there.
Paid staff would have to do library card registration. That's just,
well, can't
there's-
people self-register for their library card too? If you don't fill in the
how do
form,
you
it doesn't
verify what
happen?
their address is or their identity or?
Well, we gotta find out what a volunteer can do, because a volunteer stands up there and says, I promise to do this,
A
such and
volunteer can
such.
do lots and lots of stuff.
But why can't a volunteer, last time I was here, 2 weeks ago on Saturday, Betty and I, she remembers some things I forgot, created, I think it was 7 new library cards.
Awesome.
She helped me because I forgot a few things, but we worked together on it. You know, I mean, it's, I don't remember a single name or what anybody did, but I don't, is there a law that says because I wasn't being paid
Yes.
$10 an hour, so then pay me to do it?
Dollar for the year, not
Pay me-
because they're both separate.
Exactly.
That's a possibility.
Well,
When we-
and, yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that come to mind, that's why I'm trying to get away from the financial, I mean, there's nothing to say that you can't be paid and you make a donation to the library. I mean,
Well, I've
I'm
always
just
said
saying, creative things exist.
I've always said volunteers should get paid lunch.
You follow the rules,
Right.
and yet still,
We
you know
need
what I mean?
to do some
So-
independent research on
Yep.
that data practicing, government data practices
Yep.
rule. My sense is I read
So,
through, do you want a
what I was gonna
discussion or do you want
say is-
to, have to bring it up
well, I
another
thought
time?
just for time's sake, I mean, I like Steve's idea, send some comments back on that, but maybe if someone has like the top 3 that they wanna highlight kind of issues without getting into
Yeah, or
minutia,
like
could
major
you-
things that
Just
stood
major
out
things,
would
so I
be
think
good.
that data privacy is
Yep.
one. Any others that people look to this one?
I had a few others, it sounds like Ann did too.
I just didn't know, we've talked about this in the library, Ron. So we really don't care because financially it's gonna be a wash, so I don't have to worry about that one.
No, Julie said, just
For the
don't
sake of the
worry about the
discussion,
money.
so it is.
Discussion, okay.
But
We
I
do
think-
we do need to go over the finances, and we do need to make sure it works.
Yeah,
And we have-
But that's a different
Yes.
issue.
Yeah,
And
that's it,
Linda had
okay.
told us, and I think Nate did, but maybe you didn't, because you haven't been here that long, that there are ways, and certainly our first part-time librarian did, there are ways to exclude books in your collection
Sure,
from the list.
Okay.
yeah.
Or we need to keep more copies of some of them that are popular that doesn't.
That we sell or give away.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can do rental copies and things like that. That's not, there's lots of things that you can do. That shouldn't be a worry for the purposes of this.
if we were going to be an associate library too, then that means that, people could take out the electronic books not only from our library, but also Washington County, which would be very good.
Instead of
We would
one.
we would eliminate Morningside, we'd eliminate
Morning
all,
Star.
Tumble Books, everything else.
No.
Well, you may not.
We have, whatever they have, that
For
we,
the state.
we wouldn't have to double up on, or would
We
we?
might find that we can
Well, for if we're doing.
reduce our types of things, because we might be able to piggyback on.
That's what I mean.
Also in the state, right, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we still have the discretion if there's certain ones we wanna keep.
If we wanna add one that they don't have.
Probably have some,
They don't have reading and we do,
so some things we might keep.
and that's something we're.
And my hometown library with 28 staff
So any other
just
big-
got
Yes.
Tumble
big
books.
ones?
Yes.
And a few highlights?
Here's the highlight.
30,000
Big
kids'
fight.
books, and they just
Okay,
got
guys,
Tumble
Sarah's
books.
got the floor.
Well done.
As I read through Appendix A, which was new, the rest of the document I had seen previously, or, the draft of it, I'd seen Appendix A of this, road path to association, lists a lot of things that an associate would need to do to become an associate of Washington County or any other counties. And it included a lot of the things that are the very reasons we pulled out of the county, like the affiliates' open hours would be compatible with other libraries of like size. The policy and load periods would have to be the same or compatible. The common procedure for fines would have to be compatible.
Yeah.
And then there was something about staffing having to be compatible. The collection development plan would have to be coordinated with the county. And all of the policies and procedures for cataloging. So I think the one that really is jumping out at me, if we're trying to get down to the top 3, there's lots of things we need to discuss here, but the open hours. The open hours has been a problem, and that's why the Friends group has been active for 10 years, is because the county has been keeping hours in Lake Elmo small, and I don't really know what compatible means. And so I don't,
Anything.
as I read through this, I say, well, what independent decisions are left for us? If we're just independent in that the money flows this way instead of that way, but all the decisions are being made at the county, and I don't really think that's what this document is trying to suggest, but I think we would need to be careful that we still get to be our special
You're
place.
right,
We're
and I
unique
think-
and we're crazy and we're volunteer driven and there are a lot of really
But
special
like,
things
we
that
don't
we're
charge-
concerned about losing.
But we don't charge fines,
They don't either.
don't they?
In fact, most of our
I
policies
think
were
you're
modeled
right,
after
and I
this.
think the key is, it's items to be considered, they probably have this list to make sure that they don't forget to talk about things when these agreements are being drafted up, but the things that we would wanna make sure that they can't step on our toes and change on us, we would want to be spelled out in the agreement. The Lake Elmo Library sets its hours, you know what I mean?
Right.
Is what I think you're saying.
And they
because
may
it's a concern.
respond that the Lake Elmo Library can't be open less than 20 hours a week.
I think.
That's something that Nelson would actually insist on. Well,
And we would agree with that, I'm
we
sure.
would agree with that.
Yeah, they're
Probably.
probably
Not a
making
problem.
it more on a minimum
Yeah.
than they are on a maximum.
Right,
But, you know,
But
you
that
wanna
needs to
make
be
it spelled
Well,
out.
they
so it's
told
right.
us before we had to have 8,000 books.
Right.
We've
Yeah.
got, what, 15,000?
We're in the ballpark.
So, I mean, the number is just so far
So,
blown
right.
away, it's a joke.
the difference here, Steve, is that what we had before was an off-the-cuff remark from
Yeah.
an official. What we have now is a policy from the state. So this is a little more substantive, and we can really,
This is factual.
we can work towards this. And denial on the basis of, and we didn't have a document that we could, but now we have a document, it's public, and we can meet or against it. And if we're denied, then we can say, well, here's your policy, why not? Then we have
Yep.
something to fall back on. So, I mean,
I think that we're willing to work through on just about everything, I really think so.
what do you think about the volunteer issue?
I think the volunteers, if they have to get paid, get paid $1 and other considerable sums.
That's not legal.
Yeah.
That isn't? You can't do that anymore?
Is there a
So what is the
minimum wage
volunteer
that they would
issue?
have to be
I
paid?
assume so.
So what's the volunteer language that's different?
It doesn't say anything, it just talks about the people that are checking out.
No, it does
No,
say,
I
Well,
think it's that one privacy thing that is
yeah, and
That was
potentially an
it.
issue, but I
And
don't see this
volunteers,
restricting us to
and
volunteers.
you know, I emailed Pat Connolly about this, cause I was, after our meeting, I was I wanted to know. And, and the thing that she communicated to me was, volunteers can do anything in terms of programming, cataloging, it is simply circulation. That is the one area of concern, and I don't know if that's consistent with what.
Yep,
yeah,
that's
and-
my understanding.
And,
And
And
that's,
again, like I said, if this is the stumbling block for them, you know what I mean, because they have data practices that they have to follow. They're
Yeah.
not setting this rule, they're implementing this rule that exists.
I
And
would
the
say
worst
that-
thing is we have to pay people for doing circulation.
Mhm.
And again, if
Well,
they wanna be a volunteer,
we'll pay them.
donations are accepted
Right.
from our library, you know what I mean?
But if we're
And
gonna
they
pay
can
them, it's
explain.
payroll tax, it's workers' comp, it's not just as simple as giving them $1 a year, so we need to recognize there's something.
Exactly, but it felt
I
to me
think
like
there's-
something that could be worked around and you pay them a very low wage, you know what I mean? And if they don't even wanna take that, then, donate back to the library, but,
or to give it to the
If
friends,
we
have the
have-
friends give it to the library.
If we have a schedule of when people are working and when a volunteer would be at the desk, we could certainly pay a volunteer minimum wage for those hours that they would be sitting at the desk.
If they're the only one in the building doing the
Yes.
card.
And
you're
it
at
would
the
be
desk,
agreements
no,
that we
no,
have with our
No, she's talking
volunteers.
about checking out books, just not getting library cards.
So when there's not a paid, if and when there's
well,
not a paid
that's if
employee
you went to
here.
self-check.
Because if we have a schedule and it's followed and we know when someone's here and somebody's not here, then we know when we would have to put a volunteer on payroll to occupy that desk, but we would have to know that those periods are going to be covered.
I think that works in theory, but I think, again, I don't know these rules, but I think we would have labor rules that would say you can't have the same person doing exactly the same job, getting paid sometime and not getting paid sometime.
It wouldn't be the same job, they'd
Well,
be
that's
sitting
true.
at the circulation desk only. Only when they're sitting there, when there's nobody else there, and that's a different job than the rest of the volunteers.
Yeah, you call them like a supervisor, desk supervisor, cause they're the only one there.
I like it. I think we
That
would need
sounds
to
like the voice of experience.
proceed cautiously, because it will change our flavor, and we've been very
She's
careful to
talking
cultivate this.
intelligently though, I mean, all these things, you wanna work through.
We all remember the
Yeah.
time last summer when a guy came into the library and said, "You just gave my wife a card," and you said, "Yeah." He said, "Gee, she can't find her driver's license."
Oh,
There it was.
Did you put it back in your wallet?
I think she had mine, but.
oh God. But if we were to assume, cost-wise, we're open today, I think 42 hours a week.
Yeah.
And, if Nate can cover, I don't know, half your time, I don't know what, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's, I mean, and you pay $10 an hour, I mean, we're talking less than $10,000. As far as, even if we had to pay and we got nothing back, and, you know what I mean? So, just to keep it in perspective about what kind of a hurdle this is for the library.
And we need to find out if they're
But
trying
I
to,
don't think the hurdle's financial.
Yeah.
they may be trying to impose things. I mean, some of the ones from the library system in Washington County, not the board and the head staff of the county, Molly, but the library people have been trying to put roadblocks, because they told Dean Zuliger directly, you do this, we're prepared to bring you
Well,
in. We did all those things in
Okay.
6 months, and they said, well, forget it, we're not gonna do that.
That's what I'm just hoping we can throw out is any past, you know what I mean, like.
But they're
keep
changing their
animosities.
directorship
Because I got
completely,
none of
aren't
that,
they?
is all,
Came
I
from
had a
them.
meeting
Pat was
where I
involved
felt,
with this, so we're
yeah.
gonna just run with it.
I felt they
Sat
were
next to her. Nice to
super
see you, Sarah.
willing to work with us, and, yep, I got nothing. And the
Very-
meeting that we had
Super positive.
This was,
seemed, so I say we let bygones be bygones.
this meeting was so good, we were practically dancing. Julie, Nate, Sarah, Brett, Dean were there representing Lake Elmo. And they, you know, oh, here's your JPA, we love it, and we see you wanna do this, 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 and this, we'll have our lawyers write it up. By the way, here's the MELSA thing. We're like, it was great, it was just so
Oh,
cordial.
yeah, you'd have to like recatalog it, but, oh, yeah, you know,
Just
that'd be no
convert it.
big
I
deal.
don't
We
know,
could
I
someone
would-
to
right.
do that for
So,
you for
Pat
like
was
very
there,
little cost.
and,
I mean, it was,
The deputy whose name is escaping me, she's my
Joyce.
neighbor.
Joyce.
Thank you, Joy Schneider was there, and several people from the county, Molly, and a few others. Commissioner Kriesel was there, and so the meeting was, how can we do this? That was the tenor of the whole
wow.
meeting, it was really great. So whatever friction we've seen in the past seems to have gone away with the baby in the bathwater, which is great, because we really are
I think
having.
the thing is too, is that we've survived 2 years.
I
I
think
think that's
we're
part of
not a
it.
teenager
yeah.
anymore, we're getting to be a grown-up, we're
It's
not
not,
a child,
it's
we're
not,
a teenager.
it's not going away.
well, and
So-
I think, you know, I mean, the first meeting I had with them, that I communicated with them, like, you know, that we wanna be fair partners in this, we're not out to, you know what I mean, like,
Right.
you know what I mean, like, I think we all have a common goal here, if you're in the library, you know what I mean, it's getting people to be able to use library services and encourage that and reduce roadblocks to doing so.
Well,
Obviously,
frankly,
we're all looking out for our own, you know,
it's always felt weird that we have a library system where we're not cooperating with one another.
Okay, so
So-
what's the next step?
well, I think the next step is to start to, hone in on this and what it would look like in terms of an actual agreement. So that, then you can start the
Redlining stuff.
negotiation, so to say, of, okay, well, number 7
Does
appears
Bayport
to be a
have,
stumbling block, and
does Bayport have an agreement?
No,
I don't
Yes,
know the
they
answer
do,
to
this
that.
policy says that they all have to have an agreement, it all has to be filed
There's
annually.
three
Well,
places that
if
have.
we looked at Bayport's, then we'd know,
Excellent idea,
Yeah,
Very good idea.
or Stillwater,
or
both.
Stillwater.
Let's look at them both.
And
well,
what was the
Bayport's
other
more
one?
our side, that's the only reason I
Well,
boy, if
there's-
they have an agreement, it's something they added since I was on the Washington County Board,
Okay.
but that's okay.
But there's gotta be
But
some
they are
agreement
affiliate-
somewhere.
well, they shouldn't have one with us if they don't have one with
Yeah.
Bayport.
But it
This
says
policy
is-
was just created last November.
But there's gotta be something about, because they do interlibrary
It
loans.
says, in
Gotta
order
be
to
something.
accommodate past agreements, MELSA acknowledges 4 existing associate libraries and lists the 4 of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, background,
Yes, we have some that'll be
and then
sort of
there is
stay
something
underneath
about
the old and then there's some new ones.
existing independent libraries may join only through participation, so we can only join MELSA through a county.
Yeah, you have to be friends with Washington.
So I guess I don't know for a fact that there's a written agreement between Stillwater
Okay.
and
But there's
Washington.
gotta be
and
something
Bayport.
We could
because they
also have the
bring money.
legislature change the law, couldn't we, by having Kathy Lomer,
Sure.
bring
Oh,
something
yeah,
up and just stick it into a bill and
Slide it
and
into
get it
something.
passed?
Yep.
I mean, I
That's the way
can't
it's done.
imagine the Republican House not voting for it, and the Democrats probably would vote for it, and the governor couldn't care
Well, let's
less.
start with this, and I don't know, Julie, you probably allowing your plate, I don't know if you wanna be the hub for this, do you want someone else, see if they wanna,
No, I kinda
Step forward
do,
and-
this
okay.
is something that I just really wanna
Okay.
do, so.
Okay, but if, yeah, we could.
And I'll
Good.
bring it back to this board every step of the way,
Good.
and that can, you know,
Thank
is
you.
my promise to you,
And
so.
whatever you need from me, just.
Yeah, you know, like, we'll just, I don't know, set up another meeting to start keeping the process moving, and then, like I said, every
step of the way, every meeting, I'll
Send-
bring back an update, or,
I'll work
you know.
with you, and maybe my role will be to be the devil's advocate,
Yeah.
well, that won't work, cause I'm
Perfect.
very good at saying no. But I
No,
mean,
I
yes,
need
this is
that.
what we've wanted to do since we went our
Great.
separate ways.
Okay,
Cool.
sounds good, we'll keep it moving.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Laptop use policy,
Oh,
draft
laptop.
here, just to kind of.
It's a draft, and the thing is that, it's a compilation of, policies from a variety of places. I got notes from Steve today.
Oh my
But-
gosh, you did.
Yeah, he was correcting. The thing is if you actually read the thing, we have some things that are real questions, and that's what we need some, help on. And the first one is the very first thing under checkout procedure.
Let's start quick. I can take care of the grammatical stuff on the stuff they wrote, but these questions here that Ann's
No,
gonna
no, I'm gonna do
ask.
some other ones. The first one is that we have a question, and we're saying that to check out a computer, you have to be 16 years old. How do you guys feel? There are other libraries that allow 7-year-olds to be checked out with their parents' permission. We chose to put in 16 years. What is your feeling?
How does the laptop get used? Just someone here when needs to go to a
Somebody,
different
like,
spot
if
and
somebody
use the
wanted,
Wi-Fi or take
the
it home, or-
ancestry thing?
In
No,
the
no, it has to be in the library.
Okay.
And, you didn't read it. Didn't read it.
You didn't send us your questions ahead of time.
You have the youngest daughter of anybody here.
I
How
think,
old should a person be to be able to check out a laptop and use it in this library building?
By themselves.
Do you have internet block?
No.
No,
But,
oh, that's,
but a kid could just,
We
I mean,
could
as
do
it
that.
stands, a kid could just sit down and use the internet. We don't
With their own
have-
laptop.
I think if we could do the
Or,
internet block.
or just like,
Well,
My
that's
impression
a
is-
problem, I think. I
Oh,
think-
yeah, this is wrong. This is something
I
that
think
we
we
have
can
not
do-
done, that we need to do, is we need to have an internet lock system.
We do.
but
on
if we
our
do,
library.
if we
So let's say
do,
we
then
take care
we're,
of that.
But-
So
then
maybe
we're
it's separate,
considered,
Guys,
somewhat
So
separate.
assuming that's not the
prohibiting-
So we
issue.
have that, I kind of
we
feel
have
like
to have a
kids would need it
separate
for
children's,
for homework.
You guys,
internet
one
program.
conversation,
they could use the desktop.
one
for all these devices.
conversation, okay? Because you're all not listening to each other.
I have not
What we
been-
wanna know from Julie is, your daughter's 10,
She's 9, just
Nine.
turned 9 in January.
just turned 9. Okay, would you want your daughter to come up here if it was, everything was okey dokey? Would you want your daughter to be checking out a laptop?
Yep. My only concern would be that she could access things that, as a parent, I wouldn't want her to see. So, and I think at 9, she's more than capable of working on a laptop. I mean,
I think
So-
16 seems old. I mean, to me, it's like
Yeah.
homework
I
and
was
things like
thinking
that, if they wanna come here.
but it doesn't need to be that young. I'm just saying.
Okay, that,
10, 12.
okay, we came up with kids in 7th grade also because, the kids at Oakland Junior High were given laptops, back when they were big la-di-da, they were all discussion.
Maybe the number should correspond with our difference between child and adult library card. Where's that cut off? Is
10.
it 10? Maybe that's where it should cut off. And we do have a statement that parents are responsible for library uses and appropriate checkouts, I
It
think, in our
does-
policy.
just because it's a policy doesn't mean it's legal. We may have written it, but it may not be a legal statement.
That's true. My question was, in that paragraph is related, you had.
Well, wait, now,
Well,
let's
no,
get done
no,
with this first.
No, it's a
Oh.
related question.
Oh, okay.
Driver's license or photo identification, my question is, does it have to be a state-issued photo ID? I mean, do you want an ID, or will the
That's what I
school
wanna
ID
know.
card
I was
suffice? And so
thinking
that's
school ID
kind of-
card.
But we
Okay,
didn't know, I mean, that goes along with how old are they gonna be?
yeah, that's why I tossed it in there.
Do elementary schools have ID cards?
Mm-mm.
Why do you require separate identification if they have a library card?
Well, we didn't know, if we thought it.
Because
they-
Because
took
other
out-
places
one of the
do.
things,
Yeah.
yeah, one of the
Quite
things
simply.
with the library, if we had a photo library card, it's, if somebody comes in, if I don't know who that is,
Right, could be
if-
anybody's card.
it could be anybody's card, whereas like a photo ID is easier to, verify right away. I mean,
And we're
it's
going
the same
to-
way you can't get on an airplane with your library card.
And we're going to hold your ID, which is incentive to bring the
Yeah.
laptop back. Oh,
Right, somebody might be
Yeah.
willing to walk
Yeah.
away from their library card.
Yeah, but they
We
wouldn't
have a
walk.
lockbox just
Right.
for it.
So that was, so what, the thing is the age, that was one of, I mean, we have some things here that are, some of the stuff is junky that we need to know about computers, but this is some of the big stuff is.
Well, what
So,
is
so
you
there,
got-
there, that can be your, so you have desktop computers that the kids can use?
Yep.
So I guess you can say, you need to have a photo ID or, because there's a risk that someone can walk out the door with this portable computer. And that's why it's
16 for a laptop. It's not like we don't want kids to use computers, and we have computers for kids to use, but we have no beeper system or buzzer that's gonna go off when they walk out the door. We have front and back doors that aren't able to be monitored. That's why it's our policy.
And
I
there's
mean, you
also-
could just say that's why, that's our rationale.
There's also in the policy, that once you check it out, you are responsible. So if you get up and walk to the bathroom and leave it alone and somebody steals it, it's still your responsibility. So at what age do you want a child to take that responsibility?
And I mean, I've seen it all, like in my job, you know, and granted, we're in like Elmo, so you hope things are, you know, but I mean, like, we had a desktop computer at the YWCA in St. Paul. Someone walked in and took our computer off our personal
The
training desk
desktop?
and left.
Unbelievable.
So
I had a laptop
I am
stolen from work.
tainted in what I've seen in my, you know what I mean? So I could support this being 16 because you want a photo ID that you're keeping if they don't bring that.
You know, if it's a
back.
kid under 12, mom checks it out. Here's my
Yeah.
here's my driver's license, here's my library card. Okay, Junior, you go do your homework and I'll go to the knitting class or whatever.
The parent is responsible. then.
But what about the kid who comes
But they
in?
would be anyway, if, I mean.
Well,
Isn't there one kid that comes in every day and sits in the front room and waits for his mother to come in an hour later?
No, that's Mike and Rose, but they're in junior high.
Well, I mean,
So,
they wouldn't have a driver's license.
Then they're in junior high.
well, they would have a
16
photo
wouldn't
ID.
Get the laptop. So
But
for
they would have a
security-
photo ID,
So
but-
for security, we're thinking 16 is good. I think we could go younger, but if it's.
I just, that's.
Why don't we start at
That's kinda
16
walking
and
Start at
expand our
16.
policy
We can
in a year?
revisit it anytime.
Okay,
Okay.
the next one is that we're saying the library card has to be 30 days old. The reasoning for that is that they didn't just walk in off the street, get the library card and do it.
They drop off their stolen
We're-
photo ID.
and remember, we're getting these things from a variety of sources.
Everything.
I liked it.
Everything's been lifted.
I liked it.
Everything has been lifted
There's
in
not
this.
an original.
No, there's no original
Some
thoughts.
original wording, but not an original
So
thought.
someone had an incident in their library.
Yes.
And then I'm not, you know what I mean, like,
Sure.
that's what's happened.
Oh, some of them are very
You
specific.
just have to weigh the risk here and
Some of them are
decide.
pages.
Are you guys okay with that?
Yep.
Because we can straighten this up. These are the ideas.
Is
that we're
30 days
concerned about.
better than different than a week?
I don't
mean,
know, they just had 30 days, so that's.
That's
what
what
we got.
somebody else
Fine,
said.
just leave it.
I mean, it's like
Move
the
on.
gun thing. If you wanna buy a gun, you gotta wait 3 days or
Oh,
something.
do you? I don't know.
Is 3 days enough?
Okay, the thing is,
Well, for a gun.
this is under, because we're gonna go down here, under checkout procedure number 2, we have a question. It says, staff will inspect the laptop to make sure it's intact and functioning properly. Huh? So how are they gonna do that?
I would add before and after checkout.
Oh, that's after, you have
That's
to
part
put in
of it.
right further,
No, I read the whole thing, but I think it needs to say here.
but checkout says the
Well,
same
there's a
thing.
checkout and a check-in.
Checkout
Okay.
says the same thing, but that's the same, so is the,
Hold on,
what's the staff gonna do to make sure it's
it does not say that in the check-in procedure.
checkout?
I think that's a
In the check-in.
procedure that the librarian.
Is it not there?
It's not there in
Well,
check-in.
it can sure be added.
It says
That's
bring it
why
in
we
at
did
I
it.
time.
thought it does.
I just,
It's a
You
lot.
can just have to bring it back with it open.
yeah,
Maybe it doesn't specifically
but it doesn't
state
exactly
that.
say that. I think it needs to say
Okay,
staff.
Sure, we can have that.
We have no problem with that and stuff.
You gotta train the volunteers
That's
too.
why we are
That's
No
here.
question.
Okay,
So
wait,
this is a
So I would
work in
just, after
progress.
properly, I would add before and after checkout.
after before and after checkout. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And then I don't think we need instructions in the policy.
Well, the instructions are, we're gonna instruct the volunteers, or we're gonna instruct who, I don't know.
Well, that's the instruction needed, if a staff person is supposed to inspect it, or if they bring it back to the circulation desk if they have problems.
But that doesn't
what-
need to be in the policy.
No,
We'll
no,
train our staff.
No, that's
Oh, no,
just,
that's why
that's
it's
a
in
parentheses.
parentheses.
That's what we're
Instructions
saying.
needed means the person needs instructions,
We
that's
need
there
to
as a
do,
reminder.
we need to do that,
Yeah.
okay? Okay, the other one is under personal responsibility and liability. It says, if they have an unattended laptop, we're gonna take it back, and your laptop borrowing privileges will or may be suspended for up to 3 months a year, we don't know.
Well, what the policy said is that your laptop privileges, it either said will or may or
Yeah.
never be suspended for 3 months. So I was thinking, first of all, do we wanna say this? And if we do want to say this, do we wanna say it's going to be for 3 months or up to 3 months? So, first of all, do we, and second of all,
Now, what do you want,
Could be for up to, sounds good.
you wanna
I
do
agree.
that?
It seems like there's.
Maybe
some-
suspended for up to,
You wanna do up to?
At the discretion of the library director,
yes.
Okay, we'll just say for up to 3 months at discretion.
at the discretion of the library director.
Do you think that needs to be added?
Yes.
Yes.
Because we need to
It-
decide
It shouldn't be
who
me, if
decides
I'm
the
a
mayor, board, or
volunteer,
chairman.
it shouldn't be Sarah,
Yes, it should.
yeah, not a chance. Especially if
never
it's one of your
did all that.
kids.
Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot one other thing, guys. Under loan periods and renewals, it seemed to be that most of the libraries were loaning them out for 2 hours at a time, and then you could renew them. Do you guys
Yes,
like
it
that
looked
idea?
fine. I like all of those criterias.
Okay, I just, you know,
That's
this is
okay.
stuff I want you to
But I have
point
something
out.
before you go to the next
Okay,
page.
good.
Under personal responsibility and liability, number 1, this is a grammar thing.
Oh,
You need to put the word laptop before the word lost instead of after the word damaged. Because what it says now, the person checking out the laptop is financially responsible for a lost, stolen, or damaged laptop during the loan period. That says they're responsible during the loan period. But what you want to say is they're responsible for a laptop stolen, lost, or damaged during the loan period. So
Okay,
if
thank
the
you.
problem happened while,
Okay, gotcha.
And we can blame all of that on another source.
Well, you know, this is not original,
Grammar.
guys.
Yeah.
Sarah?
This is not original, you should see what Steve did.
Sarah, here's my
It's
for time.
just amazing what some
for
people
time.
do.
Steve called me today and went over this.
Save the
Okay,
grammar for later.
under computer use, it says wireless internet access is available in the library to log to the wireless network. We didn't know how to do that.
Well, that was left in red so that that can be filled in, so that's just a matter of getting the instructions and filling it in, which is what we need to
And then,
complete.
and we
What
didn't know,
you've gotten there is,
because we didn't know too, if you do the inner user ID, do you wanna really put it down in case you change it?
I think you can say enter user, enter ID, and enter password. It's on the door, so people will know that.
The front desk.
Okay, then we don't have to do anything about that.
Yeah, you can say where they can find it in this policy rather than
Or we
what
could put
is.
it right on the laptop with a
Yeah,
little
I
sticker.
mean, you could
That's
say
all.
located
Oh,
on
sure,
a sticker
good.
on the
Located.
laptop, or that's your out there for
On
when you change.
laptop.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
If they lose it, then the person who finds it will be able to,
I didn't get into it. Okay,
Item 2 under computer use, should it say earphones or headphones?
yes,
yeah,
we
and,
changed that.
and the thing is on page 1, we added headphones to this thing, I forgot, the library checks out only the laptop, earphones, and we added headphones to that too.
One other thing that I'm just going to throw in a little caution is this was also done trying to keep it on the front and back of one page.
Yeah.
So font
Oh,
will
yeah.
shrink the more that is added.
Move,
Okay.
move the little logo
You should
2 inches higher.
But he's pressing out more.
But Sarah, I said that most of us probably have so many leftover headphones that we should just bring them here and let
But I
people
think
use
you have
them.
to clean them up then, don't they have to
Oh.
be clean?
No, people can use
We
their
have a
own.
whole box of headphones, they can buy them for $1.
Okay, so we're gonna add earphones to that one. The other one, there's somewhere in here, it says that if they're listening to music, you can't have it,
It's
so loud.
right there and it's perfect.
Is that where it is, so you can't hear it?
Yep.
Okay, you're okay with that stuff?
Period.
Um, you can't, okay, under saving your material, okay, you guys.
Can I just say one thing on number 3, where it says personal software cannot be downloaded? You should just make them, you can block,
Yeah,
so you can't download.
you betcha you
Oh, we
And,
can't?
and that's a
Yeah.
really good thing to do. so.
Yeah, there's,
Would it then not be necessary to say, or should it be said just as a
So
precaution?
they don't try.
But they
Yeah.
could be able to
Precaution.
stick their flash drive with the program in it and use it,
And run the program off the flash
and run the
drive.
program off their flash drive.
Well, we're getting to that.
Just-
Uh-oh.
You can
Well, there's a big issue with flash drives having viruses.
oh yeah,
And so when we got to using an external storage device is highly recommended, I was just like,
That's
What
what
did
they
we
all
say?
say.
What we say, yeah, where was this?
Because you're saving. your
I think you
material.
should scan flash drives, and I think you can.
oh, you can.
So when it's
Within use.
installed, it gets scanned.
Like they do it at the desk or something.
Right.
How do you do
Oh.
Can it be on the laptop though, that it just automatically scans?
It'll
the
be on the
external-
laptop, and as soon as somebody plugs a USB in, the first thing that happens is a virus checker goes and looks at that USB port. And if there's a virus on there that it can catch, it can block the USB right then.
Yeah,
So
we
is
just
that
need
in
to
here,
make sure
guys?
on this
Is
side.
that
it's
something
not.
added to the?
So what do we need to add? Tell me
Yeah.
about it.
I think
Don't-
so.
It doesn't need to be in the policy, it just needs to be in
Right.
what is done with the laptop
Yeah,
before it's
the
put in.
laptop
Okay,
needs
let
to
me-
be ready
Yeah.
for it.
So number 3 about personal software being downloaded needs to be a internal, something that we set up in the
Yep.
scanning
Hey,
of
tell me
flash.
so I'll write it down though, guys, what do you want?
So, under number 3,
Yeah, and,
we need to set the laptop, not adding it to the policy
no,
at all.
I know.
We're gonna add a setting so that portional software cannot be downloaded.
Yeah, there's,
And
the laptop
number
says
one,
they are
under
not
saving
as
your
an
material, we're gonna
administrative
add
and
a
public.
procedure
setting,
here
and
that
there's
the
a
virus
password
software is
for the
set to scan any
administrative, and
external
there isn't
drive.
one for the, yeah,
So there's no way
you know.
to be able to.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the thing, sorry, cause you know, I'm not the computer lady. Under saving your material, it said all files saved will be erased. Okay,
And that's what just about everyone said, once you
What's
close
that
it down,
mean?
it will be erased, is that going to be how these computers are set up?
That's the public setting.
Okay.
oh, that's right, that's
So
right,
that will be accurate.
that's right, you want that,
Okay.
huh? Okay, what else did you wanna add under saving your material? You said you wanna scan their,
Oh, that's,
flash, you wanna,
that's under number one.
That's-
We're gonna set up the computer so that it will scan the USB port.
And what do we wanna say in the policy about that?
Nothing about it, that's just what
We don't need to say anything about it?
No, it's just how we're gonna set up the
Leave it out
computer.
with that
What's gonna
before.
happen is you're gonna have somebody who's gonna come in and say, my USB port thingy doesn't work. Well, it's because they brought one in that was infected.
Good, well, then that's what the person behind the desk.
I'm just
desk
making notes so we don't
needs to
forget
know.
any of this stuff, that's my concern. You guys know more about computers than we do about checking out, and they need to be, this is what we found in this other one. They have to be returned no
Right.
less than 50 minutes, and they're supposed to be powered on and open.
Yep.
Right?
And what
And
does the
like-
staff person need to do to check it
Yeah.
in?
Make sure the screen's not in 100 pieces.
My father, his dad was a minister, and
In general, I
when
would
the
say there's
sermon got
nothing
too
really that
long,
they should do
they were
if it
supposed to
works,
take their watch
it's
out and shake it and see what's
Yeah.
broken.
If it's running,
If it's running in happy campers
if
in
it's
one
running,
piece.
You see the desktop and it's,
yeah, and you just shut it down and send them on their way.
Or
And
really
then-
important and then shut it down.
Yeah.
And then we had these disclaimers, businesses, but the last one was the library director reserves the right to limit or regulate the use of the library equipment. That was our fallback.
I think under check-in,
Yeah, let's hear it.
you could get rid of number 2, cause above you said they couldn't do that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Okay, I mean, it didn't really hurt them,
We have a
but.
We didn't know, but I mean, you can see we put stuff in here that we want, that's why we want to know.
And again, lifted right from somebody else's
Yeah.
policy.
Okay, then we have this patron agreement business, and the reason we wanted the staff or volunteer's name was so who really was doing this last in case somebody has some problems. And condition of laptop, I guess it's just good, we don't know what else is. Well, we thought we should, if there's something
If somebody
scratch.
checks out a laptop and comes back almost immediately and says, I turned on the screen and it's damaged, well, that would be a condition that they
Yeah.
wouldn't be responsible for.
Now, on the.
Well,
next-
it wouldn't have been given to them unless we'd opened it up and looked.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
true.
We hope.
It's
But if there's just
there
a
as
known scratch
precaution,
or
kinda like
something.
when you rent a car, if you see anything on here that,
And you're gonna rent a car, yeah.
I think this language
Okay, let's
here,
hear.
accept the responsibility for all damage. I think your language under personal responsibility number 1, 2, and 3 is stronger, and I think you can just take that, especially number 1, we take that language and stick it in there.
You want number 1?
Yeah, under personal responsibility number 1.
We almost done?
No. Then the next, I gotta write this down.
They haven't even started with the questions. They're
Okay,
here.
now the page 4 is the
Got 5 of
questions, because some of this stuff we don't know, guys. So how does the library know if a patron has infected a laptop with a virus?
well, we just put in something that it can't do, so it's
Well,
done.
we can run a scan when it's returned.
Oh, man, that's a lot of
You have
work.
to do,
Yeah.
I don't know what
Just
you
click
do.
and run, and just set it aside and let it run, but that might be a time, Nate, do you have any?
Yeah, we're not gonna catch people. Like,
If they get a virus from the internet, I would be hard pressed to hold them responsible.
Me
so-
too.
yeah, that's
But
the,
we run a virus scan at the end of every day, and if it's infected, we don't check it out again until we've erased it and
We
redone it
hope
or
they don't
something.
open up an email
Okay,
that
so
comes
you
to
guys know
them
about that
that's
stuff.
gonna infect them.
Then the number 4 was what virus protections are on the laptop, and then you were talking about having a blocker? We need a blocker for naughty stuff?
That's more, I
That's on
think,
our
for your
internet.
full
That's on our
internet.
That, it already exists on our
Okay.
internet.
Yeah.
Okay,
But again, yeah, we just need to have all the virus stuff in
So
place.
for number 4 is a procedure question for the library director to make sure that the laptops are set up before they go out.
okay, look at 2 and 3, those were policies that they had in a variety of places, and we wanna know if they're needed.
I think they should be in the policy.
Well, these are actually just repeating some things that you've said in the laptop
I was wondering
policy.
if that wasn't in there.
Some of it is.
It's not
I think some
liable,
of
I
it
think
is.
I think it is.
It sounds like stuff we already read.
yeah, that's some
Two
redundancy there.
I see, no, I don't see that. I see number 2, disclaimer is not responsible for objectionable material. But I don't think
It
that,
doesn't say anything about,
we're not responsible for your removable data.
no. Okay,
So I think that should go in.
Which one,
Yeah, I
how
think
much?
it
Number 2, all of it.
right, two, right
All the,
there.
what's the business with all computers will be shut down and wiped when they are checked back in?
Well, some of that is included already.
Well, life would be
First
the
sentence.
instructions to the person behind the counter, not necessarily the patron. that
So we don't need, that's
That
for,
would be the one.
this is for
That's for,
library stuff.
Should we do this for our other computers? Every time somebody gets up and after checking
That's a
for
good
the
question.
job applications or whatever they
Well, but we
do?
can supervise that a little bit, because we have a glass wall there, so if they're, downloading.
Has
Yeah, but
anybody
really,
ever
we
seen
should
it?
be doing that automatically at the end of the day, and we're not.
And it should
this
automatically do
goes
that.
together with the policy of not having an internet block, which is another thing we
But I
really
think
do need
we
to
do have,
address.
we do have some filters on our
Well,
internet.
I
We have
thought that,
filters, but we don't have a block.
I see.
when I was at 3M, and that's a different situation, we were required to shut our computers down every day, because when they started up again, they would have new programs and stuff filtered in. Does
So I
those
would say
scans and
just
things
wordsmith, make
depend
sure
on
that stuff in
your
here
shutting it
is in
down
there,
once
it's
in
there,
a
don't let it, if
night?
It's not.
No,
Should we take it?
it depends on the system.
And 3.
right, and by two.
And we don't have a good system now,
And three.
and we should.
Okay, look at number 3, guys.
And that,
I think that one needs to be added too.
It's not gonna hurt us to put it in unless it doesn't fit.
okay,
Well, okay, and then, we know about the internet blockers. Okay, number 5, what's available? What features? We don't know.
I don't think it matters, because it's gonna change over time, I wouldn't put it in the policy.
Okay. But I
A
didn't
lot of
know,
other ones did add it, that's why we were
Yeah.
wondering.
Well,
yeah.
we can change the policy, but it just seems like policy changes, takes a month to do, and
do we need to know somewhere which
That they have,
features we have?
like Microsoft
Put it on a
Office.
wall. Just have it on a wall for everybody to see if they want, be curious.
so it's not that we don't
Is
have
it
to tell
Bad
people.
idea.
Is it the same, we have all the same features on the laptop as we do on the ones that are,
Maybe
attached?
not.
Probably.
I mean, do you want to have all the same things on all of your computers?
Generally, yes.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea.
Well, then maybe the people who know about computers should look into that. I don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be in the policy.
Okay, but
I think you-
just to let you,
This is